awaiting the ultimate calamity's arrival, or perhaps proactively seeking the source of annihilation. His miniature universe would become the most formidable bastion for humanity, the foundation upon which he would confront all challenges. Chapter 95. The source of all laws returns to the system, passing the torch to construct the divine court. After vanquishing the sacred land of the Purple Moon, intimidating the Eastern Emperor's sacred land, and integrating his parents and some earthly kin into his miniature universe while enhancing their life levels, Li Wei did not pause in his endeavors. The unification of the universe's surface did not grant him a sense of complacency. Rather, the higher he ascended in strength, the clearer his perception of the potential crisis posed by the boundary beasts became. Enhancing oneself and strengthening the clan were fundamental measures to confront all unknown tempests. At the heart of Li Wei's miniature universe lay a realm of chaotic energy, a source of laws enveloped in primordial essence. He sat cross-legged in the void, his mind achieving an unprecedented tranquility, achieving the status of 100,000-fold genetic true deity, with a universe of completeness within, endowed him with the profound foundation necessary to explore the greatest mysteries of his existence and the ultimate origins of the system. This system had accompanied him since the inception of his journey through time, evolving from a rudimentary ability to absorb damage and convert it into realm value, to later deciphering the conflicts of laws and absorbing the backlash of rules, assisting him in his remarkable ascent to perfection as a genetic true deity. A contribution of immense significance. Yet, the true nature of this system remained an enigma. What was it? From whence did it originate? Why had it chosen him? These questions lingered in Li Wei's mind. Now, with his realm sufficiently developed, it was time to attempt to unveil this veil of mystery. Li Wei immersed his will entirely, tracing back to the chaotic essence deep within his soul, a formless yet undeniably real sphere of system light, with the volition of 100,000-fold genetic level, pure and formidable. Akin to the most intricate probe, he cautiously engaged with the core of the system. Initially, it presented as a vast chaos, resembling an infinite ocean of information. However, as Li Wei delved deeper with his divine perception, he gradually began to discern subtle threads previously imperceptible. He realized that the system was not a mere lifeless entity. Rather, it resembled an exceedingly complex interface of rules or an information relay station that transcended the current comprehension of the cosmic sea. It continuously drew from an unknowable source, extracting a more primordial energy or information and transforming it into resources most suitable for him to absorb, tailored to the environment he inhabited and the nature of the damage he experienced. Damage appeared to be merely the most direct and universal medium that triggered this transformation. The essence of the system seemed more akin to a versatile adaptive wellspring of energy. Li Wei endeavored to no longer passively await harm, but instead actively conveyed his needs to the core of the system. He sought deeper insights into the laws of time, particularly the higher-order applications concerning time reversal and the manipulation of causal lines, which could prove crucial for future encounters with the realm beasts and for exploring the origins of the continent. At the moment his intentions were transmitted, the sphere of system light gently oscillated. This time, no external energy of harm was injected. Yet Li Wei distinctly felt the internal structure of the system undergoing an extraordinarily complex reorganization and deduction based on his needs, as if it were retrieving relevant fragments of rule information from that mysterious source and integrating, simulating, and transforming them in a manner he could scarcely comprehend. Moments later, a subtle yet profoundly pure and deep insight regarding the essence of time and its causal connections flowed into Li Wei's consciousness like a gentle stream. This understanding was not a forceful imposition, but rather a guiding revelation, providing him with a fresh direction for the final chapter of temporal evolution and further refinement of his divine-level secret arts. Indeed, Li Wei's heart trembled. The role of the system extended far beyond mere damage absorption. It resembled a universal auxiliary cultivation engine, tailored to his own cognition and needs. As long as his realm was sufficient and his will could reach deeper into the system, it would respond to his more intricate demands. This revelation bore immense significance. It implied that Li Wei's future path of growth would no longer be confined to traditional insights, battles, and treasure hunts. Through profound communication with the system, he can acquire the resources for his cultivation more directly and efficiently, possibly even grasping the mysteries of laws that elude the cosmic ocean and the primordial continent. Of course, this active pursuit demands immense willpower, and the efficiency and depth of the information obtained are closely intertwined with his life level, soul strength, and existing comprehension of the laws. Nevertheless, this undoubtedly opens a gateway to infinite possibilities for him. After initially exploring the new functionalities of the system, Li Wei redirected his focus back to reality. Although the human race has unified the cosmic ocean, its foundation still requires fortification and overall strength demands enhancement. The vast resources accumulated by the two sacred lands serve as the finest nourishment. With a thought, his consciousness connected to the pantheon of the virtual universe, the founders of the Great Axe, the Lord of Chaos, and numerous cosmic lords of the human race, along with the elder beast god of the Starry Sky Beast Alliance and other high-ranking allies, had all assembled. All eyes were fixed on Li Wei, awaiting his directives. Esteemed ones, Li Wei began, his voice calm, yet imbued with authority. The internal strife has been quelled, and resources are at our disposal. The pressing matter now is to invest these resources in nurturing a new generation of powerful beings within our race, solidifying the foundation of humanity for all eternity. With a wave of his hand, a colossal screen materialized, displaying an overwhelming list of resources seized from the two sacred lands. A plethora of extraordinary items for enhancing genetic levels, crystalline legacies aiding the comprehension of laws, rare materials for crafting treasures, and even primal treasures from the cosmic ocean's most perilous realms, all of which would greatly assist cosmic lords in their breakthroughs. Gazing at the dazzling list, even the founder of the Great Axe and the Lord of Chaos found their breaths quickening. These resources were sufficient to catalyze explosive growth in the overall strength of the human race in a remarkably short time. I propose, Li Wei continued, the establishment of the human race's divine court, with myself as the court master, and the Great Axe and Chaos as vice court masters, overseeing all resources. Firstly, we shall launch the 10,000-star selection program, open to all human beings and allied races, irrespective of their origins or backgrounds, judging solely on their character and potential, to select the most exceptional talents, whom the divine court shall nurture with utmost resources. Secondly, we will establish a path for ascension to the esteemed rank and a plan to enlighten cosmic lords. For all potential cosmic lords and top dominators on the verge of breakthrough, we shall open the sacred land's inheritance for comprehension, providing the rare resources needed for their advancement, along with regular teachings from us to clarify their doubts. Lastly, we will consolidate all treasures and secret method resources, establishing a treasury of inheritance, accessible to the powerful of our race based on their contributions. Li Wei's proposal was grand and meticulous, aimed at breaking down sectarian barriers and concentrating the most abundant resources of the cosmic ocean to swiftly cultivate more powerful beings. Particularly, the 10,000-star selection program represented an investment, without reservation, solely to unearth more geniuses like Luo Feng and himself. Seconded, it is indeed fitting. With such resources, the human race has no cause for concern about its prosperity. All the high-ranking officials were exhilarated in their agreement. They envisioned an unprecedentedly glorious future for humanity. The resolution quickly transformed into action. The human race's sacred court has been officially established, with its headquarters situated on a specially designated continent within Li Wei's miniature universe, where the essence of laws is exceptionally dense. A vast array of resources has been mobilized from numerous treasure troves, and a swift selection mechanism has been implemented, plunging the entire human domain into an unprecedented fervor of cultivation. Li Wei himself has taken action, utilizing his mastery over time and space to create several training sanctuaries with varying temporal flows within his miniature universe, available for the selected prodigies and those on the brink of breakthrough. Concurrently, he has begun to consciously leverage the new functionalities of the system, specifically tailoring the development of superior methods for the pinnacle experts of the human race, such as the Lord of Chaos and the Dark Master, or analyzing the bottlenecks they encounter in their cultivation. While he cannot directly impart wisdom, he provides crucial guidance. In a short span, the human race has experienced a remarkable transformation, with formidable talents emerging like mushrooms after rain, and the collective spirit of the entire race has reached its zenith. Chapter 96. Gathering heroic spirits through time and space, unlocking the source of ancestors. The establishment of the human race's sacred court has injected a potent surge of vitality into the rapidly expanding realm of humanity. With a flood of resources directed towards it, countless prodigies have emerged, leading to an explosive increase in the number of immortals and revered beings. However, for the vast and boundless new territories that require vigilant guardianship, the need for top-tier combat power, particularly those at the level of cosmic lords, remains pressing. Relying solely on natural emergence and cultivation is far too time-consuming. Li Wei has resolved to once again employ extraordinary measures to gather more towering pillars for the human race. At the headquarters of the Virtual Universe Company, in that familiar void, the Lord of Chaos and the founder of the Giant Axe stand solemnly beside, their expressions more grave than ever before. For today, Li Wei intends to attempt the resurrection of not merely fallen warriors of recent times, but of ancient heroic spirits from the primordial era, those long lost in the relentless flow of time. The deaths of these formidable beings occurred eons ago, entangled in vast causal webs, and the backlash from their resurrection will multiply geometrically. Li Wei stands at the center of the void, his aura profound as the ocean. The true divine body at 100,000 times the genetic level resonates with the source of his miniature universe, making him seem subtly connected to the intricate fabric of the primordial universe's laws. The system's luminous sphere gathers strength deep within his soul, poised to absorb the impending storm of rules, far surpassing anything before. Let us begin, Li Wei states calmly, gazing into the depths of the void's temporal expanse. The divine power surges forth, and the river of time is once again stirred. This time, the reversal of time occurs at an even swifter pace, the scenes becoming increasingly ancient and ethereal. Images of wars from the primordial era flash rapidly, the fierce days when humanity first rose to challenge the myriad races of the cosmic sea. With countless ancestors of the human race advancing valiantly, their blood staining the stars. Li Wei's will acts as the most precise probe, locking onto the once radiant, yet now dimmed soul imprints within the tumultuous current of history. These imprints, having faded significantly over the eons, present immense challenges for revival. By my name, as time reverses, may the heroic spirits return, Li Wei exclaims, his hands pulling forcefully backward. This time, he not only channels all his divine power, but also invokes the source power of his miniature universe. Even drawing on the absolute mastery over the rules of life afforded by 100,000 times the genetic level. Boom. The primordial fury of the universe has reached an unprecedented intensity. The backlash of the laws, tenfold more terrifying than the resurrection of the Lord of the Galaxy, descends. This is no longer mere chaotic currents, but has transformed into innumerable chains of divine punishment, shimmering with runes of various laws, embodying the ultimate will to obliterate historical traces and rectify significant temporal paradoxes, vowing to utterly dismantle Li Wei, who repeatedly challenges the fundamental boundaries of the universe. The void has been completely annihilated, returning to chaos. Even at a great distance, the Lord of Chaos and the founder of the Great Axe feel their miniature universes lamenting. Compelled to resist the overwhelming pressure that permeates the air. System. Absorb with all your might. Analyze the ancient causality and temporal dust within. Li Wei commanded in his heart. The chaotic radiance of the system shone with an unprecedented brilliance, akin to an insatiable black hole, voraciously devouring those punitive chains of law. Agonizing pain surged through him. Yet Li Wei's will remained steadfast as a rock. He distinctly sensed that within this backlash, alongside the raging power of the laws, there were remnants of ancient information, fragmented causal threads, and a profound sense of the passage of time. As the system tirelessly transformed the power of the laws, it also rapidly decoded these supplementary messages. Li Wei's genetic essence, having already reached a limit of 100,000 times, though unable to amplify further, was undergoing a subtle refining and sedimentation, becoming increasingly archaic and substantial, with a deeper understanding of time. Absorbing the backlash of the formidable temporal paradox, analyzing ancient causal threads, deep refinement of the essence of life, enhancement of comprehension of temporal laws, capturing the information flow of ancient heroic spirits remnants. 1, 2, 3. Under Li Wei's utmost exertion, amidst the storm of laws capable of obliterating ordinary true gods, figures of ancient heroic spirits, once on the verge of complete dissolution, gradually solidified from the river of time, forcibly pulled back into the present world. There stood the Lord of Rock, draped in animal skins and wielding a stone axe, exuding an aura of primal antiquity. The Lord of the Heavenly Sword, surrounded by a swirling sword chi, with eyes sharp as lightning. The Dragon Emperor, commanding the phantom of a divine dragon, radiating an imposing majesty. A full 6 cosmic sovereigns from the primordial era, along with over 20 apex cosmic lords of that age, returned in succession. In the moment they awakened, their eyes first reflected bewilderment. Then they sensed the profound divine pressure emanating from Li Wei, akin to an abyss and a prison, yet imbued with the essence of their shared lineage, alongside the ecstatic presence of chaos and the Great Axe. And they instantly comprehended the reason. Descendant Li Wei, I humbly welcome you, esteemed ancestors. Li Wei bowed slightly, his tone infused with reverence for the fallen heroes. Could it be that we still have the chance to see the light of day again? The Lord of Rock's voice was hoarse, filled with incredulous excitement. They felt the current flourishing vitality of the human race, alongside Li Wei's unfathomable strength, tears streaming down their aged faces. Good, good. Heaven has not forsaken our humanity. We have produced such a prodigious talent. The Lord of the Heavenly Sword howled to the heavens. The revival of such a multitude of ancient era's formidable beings significantly bolsters the pinnacle combat power of humanity. The combat experiences of these ancestors and their unique understanding of the laws are invaluable treasures. After successfully placing these resurrected ancestors, Li Wei did not pause. He made an audacious decision to attempt communication with the primordial will of the universe, requesting the release of the suppressed ancestor. The ancestor is the true stabilizing force for humanity, possessing an unfathomable realm of power. If liberated, the strength of humanity would undergo a qualitative leap, providing greater confidence to confront future crises. Li Wei journeyed to an exceptionally unique secret realm within the primordial universe, at the edge of the source of all existence. This place is the closest to the original will of the universe. He sat cross-legged, not forcefully pushing through, but instead gently releasing the essence of his tenfold perfect genes and his pure intention to protect humanity, willing to bear the consequences of the cosmic beasts, like ripples touching the supreme rules in the void. The primordial essence of the universe silently conveyed Li Wei's will to the future divine beings, presenting a solemn report to the highest rules. The cosmic sea stirred with hidden currents, and the crisis of the cosmic beasts loomed, a catastrophe concerning the survival of all living beings. Humanity is willing to exert every effort to confront this calamity and safeguard the tranquility of the cosmic sea. However, the fate is unpredictable and requires the gathering of all possible strength. The ancestor, a sage of humanity, is deeply connected to the people and possesses unparalleled talent throughout history. If released, they would be a tremendous aid in facing the cosmic beasts. Li Wei vowed to stake his own path, bearing the heavy responsibility of resolving the crisis of the cosmic beasts, earnestly requesting the highest rules to grant a reprieve and release the ancestor to jointly combat the impending calamity. His intent was profoundly sincere, and he also conveyed his vague perceptions of the cosmic beasts and his unwavering determination. He neither threatened nor coerced, only articulating the stakes and making a heartfelt plea. As time passed, the source of all existence remained silent, as if the highest rules were unresponsive. Yet, Li Wei did not abandon hope, continuously transmitting his will. After an indeterminate duration, a vast, indifferent, and colossal will, far beyond the comprehension of divine beings, finally descended slightly. This will swept over Li Wei, momentarily lingering on his tenfold perfect genes and the perfect miniature universe within him. Then a cold, emotionless stream of information surged into Li Wei's consciousness. The calamity of the cosmic beasts arises from the cyclical limit of the cosmic sea. The ancestor's transgression of the rules is inevitable. Your foundation is indeed an anomaly. Granting your request is not for the ancestor, but for a glimmer of hope. Should the end fail to prevent the cosmic beasts from annihilating the world, you and the ancestor, along with your kin, shall all be obliterated as the price for calming the rules. Granted. With this single word, Li Wei felt an invisible chain of causality binding him to the ancestor. A commitment to the highest rules. In the next moment, the entire primordial universe trembled slightly. Within the initial universe, the shadow of the ancestor, sealed by endless chains of rules, began to disintegrate inch by inch. A colossal aura, suppressed for countless cycles, like a dragon that had slumbered for eons, slowly awakened and began to spread. The Lord of Chaos and the founder of the Great Axe instantly sensed this change, trembling with excitement. Li Wei was certain in his heart that the first step had been successfully accomplished. The release of the primordial ancestor was not only intended to enhance their combat prowess, but also to demonstrate the resolve and worth of the human race to the supreme rules. The next course of action was to consolidate all forces, proactively seek out, and confront the impending calamity. The fate of humanity was now irrevocably intertwined with the crisis posed by the realm beasts. Only by forging ahead with unwavering determination could they hope to seize a glimmer of survival. Chapter 97. The realm beasts as bait to lure the fiends. Refining the path to forge the demonic Tao. With the primordial ancestor freed from confinement and the ancient heroic spirits returning, the resources of the human divine court flourished, elevating the collective strength and cohesion of the race to unprecedented heights. The cosmic sea appeared to have entered a peace era under human leadership. Yet the higher echelons were acutely aware that the true trial, the realm beast crisis, loomed like the sword of Damocles overhead. Ordinary clans quaked in fear of this peril. But for Li Wei, who bore a system, possessed a perfect gene 100,000 times over, and harbored a miniature universe within, the annihilative power of the realm beasts was, to some extent, a different form of sustenance. The genuine challenge lay not in conquering them, but in locating and exterminating the potentially billions of realm beasts scattered throughout the cosmic sea. The primitive universe now resonated subtly with the primordial ancestor's miniature cosmos, and the laws were becoming increasingly refined. Li Wei, the primordial ancestor, the Axe of Giants, and Chaos, the four pinnacle existences, convened. Although the primordial ancestor had just emerged from confinement and was still recovering his strength, the wisdom and depth had already rekindled in his timeless gaze. He turned to Li Wei with a hint of astonishment and satisfaction. Li Wei, your actions far exceed my expectations. I too have sensed the matter of the realm beasts. Indeed, this tribulation signifies the ultimate peril for all beings in the cosmic sea. The founder of the Axe of Giants furrowed his brow. According to ancient lore, the realm beasts are born in shadowy places, their movements are enigmatic, and they can sense one another, feeding on evolution. To locate and annihilate them all is akin to searching for a needle in a haystack. The Lord of Chaos also displayed a troubled expression. If we cannot eradicate them entirely, even one escaping could potentially give rise to a new catastrophe of realm beasts in the future. Li Wei's demeanor was calm, clearly having pondered this deeply. Indeed, the efficiency of active searching was far too low. Yet, the realm beasts possessed a particular trait that might be leveraged. His gaze swept across the three, recognizing the intense mutual sensing and desire to devour among the realm beasts, especially towards outsiders, such as a subdued realm beast. Subdued realm beasts? A spark of insight flickered in the primordial ancestor's eyes. The realm beasts were inherently proud, with a unique soul structure making enslavement exceedingly difficult. Moreover, should it succeed, it would inevitably render the subdued one a target of enmity among all realm beasts, provoking a frenzied assault from the entire realm beast populace. Precisely. We want them to come to us, Li Wei remarked, a cold smirk gracing his lips. Using a subdued realm beast as bait, we shall lay out a deadly trap, striking down as many as come, until none remain. This plan was nothing short of audacious. To use oneself as bait, inviting the relentless assault of billions of realm beasts. Such an undertaking demanded immense strength and confidence. Both the Axe of Giants and Chaos were astonished by the audacity of this strategy. Yet recalling Li Wei's ability to obliterate true gods with a mere gesture and reverse time to resurrect ancient powers, they found it not entirely implausible. The original ancestor gazed intently at Li Wei, as if seeking to unveil the astonishing reservoir of potential within him. What is your level of confidence? The combined might of the Boundary Beasts is not to be underestimated, especially that of the ultimate Boundary Beast King. I cannot claim absolute certainty, but I possess an 80% assurance, Li Wei replied calmly. As for the Boundary Beast King, it shall not have the opportunity to be born. His tone conveyed an unwavering authority, stemming from his confidence in his own system and miniature universe. With the plan set, the primary task became to capture and enslave a boundary beast. Li Wei ventured once more into the cosmic sea, relying on his 100,000-fold genetic sensitivity to destruction and his acute perception of the primordial essence, along with the system's ability to detect anomalous energy fluctuations. He prowled like the most elite of hunters in the dim regions near the three great perilous zones. Months later, in an exceedingly concealed chaotic vortex on the periphery of the Pinnacle Realm, Li Wei pinpointed a subtle yet voracious presence, a boundary beast lurking within, poised to consume the remnants of a passing miniature universe's essence. This boundary beast was robust, entirely black, emanating a disquieting aura of destruction, its power roughly equivalent to that of a top-tier universe master. It exhibited remarkable alertness, attempting to flee the moment Li Wei appeared. Not so fast. Li Wei unleashed the temporal and spatial forbidden domain, the formidable power of a divine-level domain instantly suppressing both the chaotic vortex and the boundary beast within. The beast howled frantically, expelling corrosive black streams in a desperate attempt to erode the domain. But in the face of such overwhelming strength, all efforts were in vain. Li Wei's formidable will was akin to a colossal pillar, forcibly penetrating the boundary beast's chaotic and destructive soul core. The soul structure of the beast proved to be indeed peculiar, resilient, and full of retaliatory force, yet against Li Wei's supreme will. Forged from the fusion of the 100,000-fold genetic tier and the primordial essence of a miniature universe, its resistance melted away like snow under the sun. Moments later, the beast's crimson eyes lost their fury, replaced by an absolute sense of awe and submission. Deep within its soul, an indelible mark of Li Wei was inscribed. From this day forth, you shall be named Morosa, Li Wei declared, bestowing upon the boundary beast a name. You will serve as the catalyst to eradicate your kin. Having enslaved Morosa, Li Wei did not return to the human territories, but instead chose to establish a battlefield within the relatively open chaotic void deep in the Pinnacle Realm. He allowed Morosa to fully release its suppressed boundary beast aura and actively emit the waves of a conquered soul. This wave, akin to a beacon ignited in the stillness of the night sky, swiftly permeated the perceptions of all boundary beasts in a manner transcending time and space. Roar, a disgrace. Kill it, slay the enslaver, devour it, and I shall grow stronger. In an instant, the boundary beasts scattered throughout the cosmic sea erupted in chaos. The enslavement of a boundary beast was a profound humiliation for the entire clan, a target that all boundary beasts must prioritize eliminating. Moreover, devouring an enslaved boundary beast might yield extraordinary benefits. In an instant, countless entities, imbued with the essence of destruction and avarice, surged forth from the dim, desolate corners of the abyss, converging upon the location of Li Wei and Morosa like sharks drawn by the scent of blood. The initial wave consisted of hundreds of dimensional beasts, each with a unique form, yet all exuding a terrifying aura of annihilation. Upon seeing Morosa, who was restrained and gazing at Li Wei with submissive eyes, these beasts went completely berserk, launching a relentless assault. A storm of death ensued, woven from various beams of destruction, devouring black holes and the whales of souls. Li Wei stood resolute at the heart of the tempest, his expression unchanged. Chaos Bell activate. System fully engage. Absorb and transform. The shadow of the bell, hued in deep yellow, enveloped the area, repelling most of the onslaught. The myriad forces of the dimensional beasts that infiltrated, destructive energies, corrosive laws, devouring traits, and soul impacts, were all transformed into the most exquisite sustenance for the system. Absorbing the primal force of the dimensional beasts to analyze the essence of destruction laws. Absorbing the devouring traits of the dimensional beasts to optimize energy absorption efficiency. Absorbing the impact of soul whales to temper the will of the soul. Transforming energy to inject into Morosa, fostering its evolution. As Li Wei endured the relentless attacks, he selectively infused the pure energy generated by the system into the enslaved dimensional beast, Morosa. Its aura began to amplify at a visible pace, its form slightly expanding, instilling within it a deeper reverence for Li Wei, while simultaneously intensifying its desire to devour other dimensional beasts. Thus commenced a grand scheme, wherein Li Wei served as bait, enduring countless tribulations to refine himself while nurturing his bait. Like a rock, Li Wei withstood the waves of assaults from the dimensional beasts, his presence growing increasingly profound through the system's transformations. His comprehension of the essence of destruction soared, while Morosa, in a frenzy of consumption and energy infusion, edged towards a higher echelon of dimensional beast evolution. More dimensional beasts poured forth from the far reaches of the cosmic sea like an unending tide. Li Wei's miniature universe spun slowly within him, poised to confront any formidable dimensional beast that could rival a true deity. He understood that this hunt, and the counter-hunt, was merely in its infancy. His ambition was to extinguish the era of dimensional beasts amidst this ceaseless carnage and consumption, seizing the opportunity to elevate his prowess to a level beyond the imagination of even a god-king. The path to the pinnacle was destined to be paved with mountains of corpses and rivers of blood. Chapter 98. Absorbing endless tribulations to refine oneself. Morosa's transformation and the hunt of its kin. Deep within the pinnacle realm, the chosen battlefield of chaotic void had transformed into a vortex of annihilation. Li Wei's death trap, baited with the enslaved dimensional beast Morosa, operated with remarkable efficiency. The dimensional beasts, like moths drawn to a flame, flocked from every corner of the cosmic sea. With each passing second, new grotesque figures tore through the void to join the frenzied onslaught against the traitor and its captor. The initial hundreds of dimensional beasts were merely an appetizer. Though their attacks were ferocious, their individual strength was mostly commensurate with that of a cosmic sovereign. Incapable of breaching the defenses Li Wei had established with the Chaos Bell and the 10,000-fold Gene Divine Body. Their destructive energy and devouring power have all been transformed into resources for the system. Li Wei stands at the center of the void, his azure robe billowing in the energy storm, yet his gaze remains as calm as a still pond. He does not take the initiative to strike down his foes. Instead, he dedicates most of his mental focus to guidance and perception. The system analyzes the structural power of the dimensional beasts, emphasizing the fusion of their destructive origins and devouring characteristics. The Chaos Bell stabilizes time and space, isolating fluctuations to avoid attracting incomprehensible entities from the depths of the pinnacle realm. Morosa absorbs the purified energy post-transformation, evolving with all its might. The command is clearly issued. The system's radiance flows, akin to the most intricate of instruments, categorizing and dissecting the incoming power of the dimensional beasts. The highly destructive origin of annihilation is transformed by the system into an exceedingly pure form of negative energy, closely aligned with the fundamental laws of the universe, which merges into Li Wei's miniature cosmos, fortifying the structural laws within and subtly imbuing it with a sense of oppositional balance, the cyclical nature of destruction and creation. The unique devouring characteristic is assimilated and optimized by the system, significantly enhancing the efficiency of energy conversion, enabling Li Wei to utilize energy in an almost unfathomable manner. With scarcely any waste, a portion of the comparatively gentle and easily absorbable energy is guided by Li Wei, continuously flowing into the enslaved dimensional beast, Morosa. With a roar that is both pained and exhilarating, Morosa's body expands as if inflated, its jet-black skin revealing increasingly intricate dark red patterns, its aura steadily climbing. Its strength, once equivalent to that of a top-tier cosmic lord, swiftly breaks through, advancing toward the threshold of true divinity. In its crimson eyes, there is an even deeper reverence for Li Wei, while its desire to devour its kin transforms into palpable greed. It begins to actively open its massive jaws, consuming those dimensional beasts that have been weakened by Li Wei's defenses or are inherently weaker. This scene incites the fury of the subsequent arriving dimensional beasts. Among them, individuals of greater strength emerge, including several formidable beasts whose auras rival those of first- and second-tier true deities. Despicable enslavement. How dare you feed upon my kin? A particularly colossal beast, adorned with a single horn, tears through space, emanating a destructive wave that forces the surrounding chaotic currents to retreat. It suddenly unleashes a meticulously condensed black beam of light. Wherever the beam passes, space itself is utterly annihilated, reduced to absolute nothingness. This attack poses a threat to the lives of ordinary true deities. Come at me. A glimmer of seriousness finally flickers in Li Wei's eyes. He still does not evade. With a thought, the ethereal form of the Chaos Bell solidifies further. Dome. The chime resonates powerfully, cascading down with a primordial aura like a waterfall. The black beam collides with the bell's shadow, unleashing an astonishing ripple of energy, yet it ultimately fails to breach the defense. However, this time, the intensity of the infiltrating destructive force surpasses all previous encounters. Li Wei's divine body trembles slightly, and the system's operational speed accelerates dramatically, absorbing high-intensity dimensional beasts' annihilation beam. Analyzing the application of true deity-level destruction laws, divine power experiences mild oscillation. Life gene structure undergoes slight adjustments for adaptation. The enhancement of conversion efficiency directed a portion of energy towards Morosa. Li Wei sensed that his 100,000-fold genetic divine body, under such intensified refinement, was no longer capable of further multiplication. However, the characteristics of the eternal source became increasingly evident, with an astonishing recovery speed of divine power, as if it were truly inexhaustible. Concurrently, his comprehension of the laws of destruction deepened rapidly, even extending to a more profound understanding of life and the laws of creation. Infused with this formidable energy, Morosa's evolution accelerated once more. It let out a resounding roar, its body adorned with dark red patterns glowing brilliantly. As its aura suddenly broke through a critical threshold, a powerful devouring domain erupted from within it. though its range paled in comparison to Li Wei's temporal and spatial domain. It exerted a unique suppressive effect on the dimensional beasts. It lunged fiercely at the Lonehorn dimensional beast, engaging in a brutal battle of devouring amidst the latter's furious roars. With Li Wei suppressing the flow of time and space nearby, occasionally dispelling the interference from other dimensional beasts with a mere flick of his finger, Morosa quickly gained the upper hand, ultimately consuming the formidable Lonehorn beast entirely. Having devoured a foe of equal rank, Morosa underwent a qualitative transformation, its size expanding once again, sprouting a pair of tattered wings from its back, and solidly stepping into the realm of a third-tier dimensional beast, equivalent to a third-tier true deity. It gazed at Li Wei with a look that held not only reverence, but also a fervent admiration. In this chaotic void, the primal and brutal laws of combat, slaughter, devouring, and evolution unfolded. Li Wei resembled a calm fisherman, steadfastly seated on the fishing platform, observing as the bait, Morosa, grew stronger amidst the swarm of fish. Meanwhile, he utilized the system to convert the rampant energy of the entire pond into nourishment for his own growth and that of the miniature universe. Time flowed by in this frenzied hunt. Under Li Wei's nurturing and its own devouring, Morosa's strength soared, gradually becoming a leader among dimensional beasts. The aura of subjugation it radiated acted like a beacon, drawing forth even stronger and more distant dimensional beasts. Li Wei sensed that deep within the cosmic sea, several terrifying presences stirred, ones that even made him take notice. These could potentially be the true apex beings within the dimensional beast community, perhaps even those with the potential to become the ultimate sovereign. It was nearly time. Li Wei observed Morosa, now at the pinnacle of fourth-tier strength and still in the throes of devouring evolution, and thought to himself that stronger prey was about to take the bait. It was time to heighten the climax of this hunt. He slightly relaxed his restraint on Morosa's aura, allowing its enslaved fluctuations to resonate further and more distinctly. He intended to use Morosa, now sufficiently fattened, to lure out the lurking great fish from the depths. The storm of the peak realm would grow fiercer due to the will of the temporal and spatial true deity. Meanwhile, in Li Wei's system log, the progress of analysis regarding the origin of destruction and the laws of devouring rapidly approached a critical point. A more significant transformation might be imminent. Chapter 99. The Unification of Laws, the Ascendancy of Morosa, the Frenzy of the Beast Tide. Under the nurturing of Li Wei and its own insatiable hunger, Morosa's strength surged to the pinnacle of the fourth tier. The aura of enslavement it exuded was akin to the most delectable poison, ultimately attracting a true, sovereign-level entity from the horde of dimensional beasts. Deep within the chaotic void, 5 embodiments of annihilating will, far more terrifying than any previous dimensional beast, suddenly descended, locking onto this battlefield. The void twisted as 5 colossal beasts, each with distinct forms, yet radiating a presence comparable to the apex of fifth-tier true gods, manifested in a surrounding formation. At the forefront was a gigantic creature enveloped in dark golden scales, its head resembling that of a dragon. Adorned with 3 pairs of crimson compound eyes, it was known as Beatty, one of the most formidable beasts in this region, its power nearing the threshold of the 6th tier. The remaining 4 beasts were also extraordinary, named Mo, Jinjia, Chuyin, and Huoqing, each a dominant leader among the dimensional beasts. Morosa, Beatty's voice resonated like the clash of metal, filled with authority and murderous intent. How have you fallen so low, willingly becoming a slave? Today, I shall personally end your disgrace and consume everything you possess. The 5 fifth-tier dimensional beasts unleashed their might simultaneously, the convergence of their annihilative realms threatening to shatter the chaotic void entirely. No longer did they attack blindly like lesser beasts. Instead, they executed a sophisticated joint assault, unleashing 5 streams of destruction, each embodying a different, yet equally terrifying attribute, converging from various dimensions towards Li Wei and Morosa. The ferocity of this assault transcended that of an ordinary 6th-tier true god. Faced with this assault capable of instilling dread in any powerhouse across the cosmic sea, a flicker of fervor finally sparked in Li Wei's eyes. This was the pressure he had long awaited. Chaotic Bell stabilized the universe's foundation. The system activated in full capacity, targeting the destructive essence of the 5th-tier dimensional beast's combined force. Morosa, hold steadfast to your core, prepare for devouring evolution. Li Wei let out a resounding roar as the chaotic bell, which had been suspended above him, emitted an unprecedented thunderous sound for the first time. The celestial bodies of the sun, moon, and stars, along with the ethereal shadows of earth, water, fire, and wind, became astonishingly clear, as if striving to reveal the true visage of the universe. The deep yellow radiance no longer merely descended, but transformed into solid barriers of law, enveloping Li Wei in an impenetrable shield for miles around. The 5 streams of annihilation violently collided against the barriers of law. The resulting explosion was beyond description, an energetic tempest sweeping in all directions, even causing subtle ripples in the otherwise stable spatial structure of the pinnacle realm. The yellow barriers trembled violently, their brilliance flickering unpredictably. Yet they ultimately held firm. However, the combined might of the 5th-tier dimensional beasts had already infiltrated considerably. A surge of annihilative energy, far purer and more ferocious than before, pierced through Li Wei's divine body like millions of searing steel needles. Pain. Even his divine body, enhanced to 100,000 times the genetic level, experienced an intense, stinging sensation. Yet within this agony lay a deeper understanding of the mysteries of the laws of destruction. The system glowed with unprecedented brilliance, operating beyond its limits, fervently analyzing the essence of this power. Absorbing ultra-high-intensity composite dimensional beast destruction essence. Analysis progress, 65-70. Detected a deeply integrated model of the laws of destruction, devouring, soul, and material collapse. Energy overload. Initiating the profound transformation mode. Optimizing the divine body structure to evolve towards invulnerability to all forms of attack. Li Wei distinctly sensed an extraordinary metamorphosis occurring within his divine form under the system's guidance. The 100,000-fold genetic level appeared not as a terminus, but rather as a new beginning. Each of his cells absorbed, adapted to, and even emulated this ultimate destructive force, growing increasingly resilient and inclusive. An essence reflecting the convergence of all laws, impervious to endless tribulations, began to permeate his divine body. It was as if any form of assault, upon contacting his divine form, would be dismantled, absorbed, and transmuted into the most primal particles, rendering it incapable of inflicting substantial harm. Simultaneously, the system directed the deciphered secrets of the synergy of the boundary beasts and the fusion of energies, along with a stream of pure primordial energy, into Morosa. A thunderous roar erupted from Morosa, resonating through the very soul. Its body swelled uncontrollably, dark crimson patterns almost igniting. As the tattered flesh wings behind it unfurled, eclipsing the sky, its aura surged like a rocket, shattering the bottleneck of the 4th tier and boldly stepping into the 5th tier. Moreover, it continued to ascend, even more astonishingly. After absorbing the commanding essence contained within the combined might of Beatty and the others, a latent potential belonging to the royal lineage of boundary beasts was awakened deep within Morosa's soul. In its blood-red eyes, alongside absolute loyalty to Li Wei, a natural majesty that looked down upon its kin emerged. Beatty, your power shall become the magnificent sustenance for my master, and the stepping stone to my ascension to the throne. Morosa roared defiantly, charging towards its former leader, Beatty. It opened its colossal maw, forming an even larger and deeper black hole of devouring, which began to reverse the destruction field of Beatty. What? Beatty, taken aback and enraged, realized that its dominion over Morosa had inexplicably faltered. Not only had the latter's strength surged, but it also exuded a regal aura that made even Beatty's heart tremble. Combined forces to eliminate it. Beatty commanded the other 4 beasts sharply. Yet at that moment, Li Wei stirred. Having acclimated to the intensity of the 5th-tier boundary beast's combined assault, he no longer contented himself with mere passive defense. He stepped forward, and his entire being seemed to transform into an invisible vortex. Any attack that approached him would be instantaneously dismantled and absorbed. With a finger like a blade, he unleashed a streak of grayish light, imbued not only with the ultimate power of spatial cutting, but also intertwined with the newly comprehended essence of annihilation returning to the void. The blade of light swept past the Moh boundary beast. In terror, the Moh boundary beast discovered that its defenses, its very divine body, were swiftly dissolving before the blade's might, akin to a hot knife slicing through butter, disintegrating into the most fundamental energy particles, bereft of any chance for reconstitution. No, the Moh was only able to emit a brief, anguished cry before it was utterly obliterated. With a single stroke, it had annihilated a 5th-tier boundary beast. This spectacle thoroughly stunned the remaining Beatty, Zhongjia, Qiuyan, and Huiqing. They finally comprehended the terrifying extent of the power wielded by this once subjugated being. Flee, Beatty, stripped of will to fight, turned to tear through the void. Now you wish to escape? It is too late. Li Wei's voice was frigid as he fully unleashed the temporal and spatial forbidden domain, firmly binding the remaining 4 beasts. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Morosa voraciously devoured, his power surging further. The battle exhibited an overwhelming trend of dominance. With Li Wei's assistance, Morosa consumed all 4 5th-tier realm beasts, including Beatty. His aura ultimately stabilized at the pinnacle of the 5th tier, even teetering on the threshold of the 6th tier. The kingly pressure radiating from him had already established absolute bloodline suppression over ordinary realm beasts. Following this confrontation, Morosa truly emerged as a contender for the title of king among the realm beasts. Meanwhile, through the system's absorption and analysis of the combined essence of the 5th-tier realm beasts, Li Wei's divine body further evolved towards a flawless state, attaining a profound understanding of the essence of annihilation. He sensed a greater turmoil among the realm beasts scattered throughout the cosmic sea, stirred by Morosa's ascent and the fall of Beatty and the others. Even more distant and powerful realm beasts were being roused. It seemed that even the core of the realm beast nest, representing the ultimate evolutionary direction of the realm beasts, cast a cold gaze. The bait had grown rich. A king was about to emerge. Li Wei directed his gaze towards the deepest darkness of the cosmic sea, determining that his next step would be to strike directly at the source of this devastation. Accompanied by the formidable Morosa, who had already half-stepped into the realm of a 6th-tier king, he advanced towards the most concentrated and terrifying source of realm beast energy. Heading into the depths of the fabled Dim Realm, the final showdown was about to commence. Chapter 100. The cosmic thousand lights gather into 10,000 paths. The tower forms a peak to continue a new chapter. Deep within the Dim Realm, chaos reigned, and the laws of existence were absent. Only the purest essence of annihilation pulsed like a heartbeat. This was the nest of the realm beasts, a forbidden zone for all living beings within the cosmic sea. Li Wei, alongside Morosa, who had already half-stepped into the 6th-tier king level, stood like a ferocious tiger entering a pack of wolves, firmly positioned at the core of this source of destruction. Their arrival was akin to pouring cold water into a boiling pot of oil, instantly igniting the most violent reaction. In the depths of the nest, the last 3 realm beasts, Karoo, Ursi, and Tina, who had also reached the pinnacle of the 5th tier and were vying for the ultimate kingship, awakened simultaneously, carrying overwhelming fury and a lethal resolve as they broke through the chaos. Behind them surged countless lower-tier realm beasts, numbering in the billions, like a black tide engulfing the entire void. This was the final and most potent force of the realm beast clan. The destructive will they formed could drive any true deity to madness, and the energy unleashed in their union could effortlessly obliterate several small universes. Morosa, you traitor of the clan, how dare you bring outsiders into the sacred land? Karoo, resembling a colossal lizard, roared thunderously. And you, the enslaver, today, I shall tear you to pieces, and your soul shall burn for eternity. Ursi's voice was sharp, like a gathering shadow. Kill. The most silent yet most dangerous, Tina, launched an attack directly, a gray ray silently shooting towards Li Wei, blurring the very concept of existence in its wake. In the face of this final onslaught, Li Wei's expression remained remarkably calm, even tinged with a hint of anticipation. He felt a jubilant stir within him from the system, a yearning for an abundance of high-quality resources. Morosar, this is your ultimate trial. Go forth, devour them, and secure your throne. Li Wei commanded, raising his hands slowly. System. Overclocking initiated. Objective. Absorb and transform the primordial energy of the beast nest, aiding Morosar's evolution, and using this energy to expand my universe. Chaotic bell, resonate. Ding. The chaotic bell emitted the most grand and melodious chime since its inception. The sound no longer served as defense, but transformed into invisible ripples, proactively welcoming the overwhelming tide of destruction. Simultaneously, Li Wei completely released the constraints on the system. The chaotic luminescence of the system was no longer confined within his body. Instead, it expanded outward from him, resembling a nascent cosmic singularity, suddenly erupting into a colossal chaotic vortex with a diameter exceeding 10,000 light-years. This vortex exuded boundless gravitational pull, not directed at matter, but rather at energy, laws, and even the very essence itself. The assaults of billions of beasts, whether in the form of energy torrents, soul whales, or the erosion of laws, were swiftly dismantled, stripped, and transformed the moment they touched this chaotic vortex. The raging destructive energy was purified, the fragmented laws were meticulously ordered, and even the dense essence of destruction from the beast nest was forcibly extracted, continuously pouring into Li Wei's body, absorbing the primordial essence of destruction from the beast nest, deciphering the ultimate mysteries of annihilation. Energy levels surpassing the critical point. Initiating the Cosmic Architecture Expansion Program. Guiding energy into the membrane wall of the miniature universe. Initiating cosmic scale expansion. Li Wei's miniature universe, which had already reached a perfect structure with a diameter of 10 billion light-years, emitted a resounding roar as it underwent unprecedented expansion under this vast influx of energy. 11 billion light-years, 13 billion light-years, 15 billion light-years. Meanwhile, Morosar, fully supported by Li Wei's system and the chaotic bell, surged forth like a tiger among sheep. It radiated absolute dominance over the lower-tier beasts, devouring them in droves with each mighty bite. It directly confronted the strongest competitors, Karoo, Ayers, and Tina, engaging in a fierce royal battle. The aftermath of the battle was absorbed in large quantities by Li Wei's chaotic vortex, inadvertently becoming a source of strength for Morosar. In this ebb and flow, Morosar grew bolder with each conflict, ultimately devouring the 3 strongest contenders one by one. After the final gulp of Tina's essence, Morosar underwent a momentous transformation. Its size expanded to rival that of stars, its dark exterior adorned with intricate dark golden royal patterns, unleashing a complete regal pressure that overshadowed all beasts. The remaining beasts within the nest, under this overwhelming force, prostrated themselves in submission. The Beast King, Morosar, was born. At the very moment Morosar ascended to kingship, the expansion of Li Wei's miniature universe reached a terrifying pinnacle. 100 billion light-years. A miniature universe with a diameter of 100 billion light-years. This has transcended the realm of ordinary void true gods, and even eternal true gods, approaching the scale of the legendary god king-level miniature universe. The structure of the universe is extraordinarily robust, with chains of laws as formidable as dragons and an ocean of origin that is vast and boundless. Li Wei's aura has consequently become even more profound and inscrutable. The calamity of the boundary beasts has, in a manner unforeseen by all, been entirely resolved. The remaining boundary beasts, under the will of Morosa, no longer pose a threat. Instead, they have transformed into a unique force under Li Wei's command. At the moment when Li Wei was acutely aware of the astonishing changes within himself and the miniature universe, a long-awaited communication request arrived through the virtual cosmic network. It was from Luo Feng. With a mere thought, Li Wei connected the communication. Luo Feng's holographic image materialized. And compared to 6,000 years ago, his gaze was deeper and more composed, his aura restrained yet monumental, subtly exuding a dignified authority that seemed to suppress the heavens. Clearly, the acknowledgement of the Star Tower had transformed him profoundly. Senior Li Wei, Luo Feng respectfully bowed, his tone imbued with genuine gratitude. I have concluded my retreat, and I thank you for your care over the years towards Earth and the Luo family. After emerging from seclusion, he had inquired and learned that for the past 6 millennia, under Li Wei's formidable reputation, the Luo family and Earth had enjoyed unparalleled stability, even flourishing further. Li Wei regarded Luo Feng and smiled faintly. It appears you have gained much. The Star Tower is indeed deserving of its name. A flicker of astonishment crossed Luo Feng's eyes, soon replaced by understanding. Before Senior Li Wei, it seemed there was nothing he could conceal. I was fortunate to succeed, he admitted, sensing the depth of Li Wei's gaze, which instilled a tremor in his very soul. Your cultivation has reached the celestial realm, a level I can only aspire to. Each possesses their own karmic path, Li Wei replied nonchalantly. Now that you have emerged from your retreat with significant strength, the cosmic sea is currently in a tumultuous period, presenting new dynamics. It is timely for you to accompany me and witness the broader horizons of existence. Upon hearing this, Luo Feng felt a stirring in his heart, realizing that Li Wei's words hinted at matters of greater import. He solemnly responded, Luo Feng is willing to follow in your footsteps. After severing the communication, Li Wei's gaze swept across the prostrated boundary beasts and loyal Morosa, and then inwardly contemplated the vast universe stretching over billions of light years. With the calamity of the boundary beasts quelled and the stability of the clan assured, the destined son, Luo Feng, had also matured. It was time to direct his gaze toward the ultimate stage, the origin continent. The final secrets of the system, the origins of the Chaos Bell, and even the realm beyond the God King awaited him there. The conclusion of one era signifies the dawn of another, grander epic. The legendary tale of Li Wei, the true god of time and space, shall continue to be inscribed in this new world, crafting even more resplendent chapters. Chapter 101. Venturing alone into reincarnation. A new journey begins at the Origin's new realm. With the calamity of the boundary beasts pacified, the cosmic sea unified, and humanity flourishing, Li Wei's miniature universe has expanded to a staggering billion light years, its depths surpassing common understanding, reaching the pinnacle that this cosmic sea can accommodate. The path ahead necessitates transcending reincarnation and journeying to the legendary stage of all origins and ultimate truths, the origin continent. In the void, Li Wei stands solitary. Behind him stood the original ancestor, the founder of the Great Axe, the Lord of Chaos City, and the recently emerged Luo Feng, whose presence exuded a profound and majestic aura, along with a multitude of the most formidable beings of the human race. Their gazes converged upon Li Wei, filled with reverence, blessings, and a tinge of parting sorrow. The matters here have concluded. The future of humanity is entrusted to you all. Li Wei's calm eyes swept over the assembly, finally resting on Luo Feng for a moment. Though Luo Feng had reached the pinnacle of the Realm Master with the aid of the Star Tower, his true combat prowess was not to be underestimated. His potential was boundless, marking him as a pillar for the future of humanity. Rest assured, Senior, as you venture forth, spoke the original ancestor first, his voice imbued with profound depth, having not only recovered but surpassed his former apex prior to being suppressed. The origin continent is the true sanctuary for the strong. We shall remain here, accumulating strength, and when the time is ripe, we will undoubtedly unite. The founder of the Great Axe laughed heartily. Once I solidify my realm, I shall join you in that new world to share a drink in celebration. The Lord of Chaos City solemnly added, with us safeguarding our kin, you shall not be disappointed. Luo Feng stepped forward, bowing deeply. Congratulations, Senior, on your imminent transcendence beyond the cycle of reincarnation. This junior's strength is meager, and I must continue honing myself in this realm. I fear I cannot accompany you. The grace you have bestowed upon me, Luo Feng shall never forget. I vow to diligently cultivate and reunite with you on the origin continent. He understood that for a realm master to venture into the cycle of reincarnation was akin to courting death. Li Wei nodded slightly and addressed Luo Feng. Your potential far exceeds imagination. The Star Tower is a great fortune. Immerse yourself in its insights, for the void true God is by no means your final destination. I shall proceed ahead and await you on the other side. He then turned to the assembly, bidding them to take care. With that, he hesitated no longer, transforming into a faint stream of light, instantly vanishing from sight, heading towards the core of the cosmic sea, towards the most mysterious reincarnation passage. The reincarnation passage is not a fixed entity, but rather a transcendent pathway opened by the cosmic rules for those who have attained the realm of the void true God, and possess a flawlessly structured miniature universe. Guided by an unseen force, Li Wei swiftly reached a void-like expanse at the end of these rules. A colossal passage, suspended in the void, stretched across the nothingness, adorned with countless rays of radiance and auspicious colors. The entrance of the passage emanated an ancient and majestic aura, while the interior was filled with an unfathomable darkness, where the flickering of stars and the terrifying spectacle of warped time and space could be faintly discerned, exuding an ultimate pressure that tested the very essence and will of life. This was the reincarnation passage. To traverse it meant boundless horizons and arrival at the origin continent. Failure would lead to death and the collapse of the universe. Li Wei gazed intently at the passage, his eyes reflecting profound contemplation. With a divine body of 100,000 times the genetic level, a miniature universe with a diameter of billions of light years, and the enigmatic system dwelling deep within his soul, he faced this passage that had instilled despair in countless true gods with only tranquility and a desire for exploration in his heart. System, all functions on standby. Analyze the structure of the reincarnation passage. Absorb all forms of rule shocks and energy erosion. The Chaos Bell, to protect oneself, stabilizes time and space. The miniature universe, resonating with the source, provides support. With a thought, Li Wei stepped forward, boldly entering the entrance of the luminous passage. Upon entering, it felt as though he had plunged into a turbulent stream of laws. The terrifying force of space-time tearing instantly acted upon him, potent enough to rend the divine body of an ordinary true god asunder. In the midst of various intangible mental phantoms, the probing questions of the soul's fundamental laws surged forth like an overwhelming tide. However, these tests, formidable enough to put the void true god on high alert, appeared to be mere ripples to Li Wei. His flawless body emanated a soft glow, and the natural resistance derived from his 10,000-fold genetic level dissolved most of the physical forces in an imperceptible manner. As those soul phantoms and the probing questions of the laws brushed against his will, they were enveloped, absorbed, and analyzed by the chaotic radiance emitted by the system. The system operated with remarkable efficiency, not only converting the various damages within the passage into sustenance that solidified Li Wei's foundation, but also functioning like the most precise scanner, continuously recording and analyzing the superior rule information contained within the reincarnation passage that transcended the cosmic sea. Li Wei's comprehension of the rules was ascending at an astonishing pace. He strolled through the bizarre passage as if wandering in his own garden. At times, he encountered a sea of thunder forged from pure destructive rules. The chaotic bell resonated gently, its reverberations calming and stabilizing the chaos. At other moments, he faced the annihilating winds capable of extinguishing souls. The system's brilliance would swiftly envelop and consume them, replenishing Li Wei's energy in the process. Deeper within the passage, the rules became increasingly chaotic and potent, presenting daunting cliffs of rules or labyrinths that required specific insights to navigate. Yet, armed with profound understanding of the essence of time and space, destruction and life, along with real-time rule analysis provided by the system, Li Wei consistently discovered the most direct and effective paths to proceed. With a mere flick of his hand, he could manipulate the rules, transforming peril into safety. His speed surpassed that of any recorded reincarnator. Time elapsed in an indeterminate manner, seeming both fleeting and eternal. At last, a peculiar light emerged from the depths of the endless darkness ahead. Initially faint, the light grew ever more radiant as he approached, ultimately coalescing into a vast exit that exuded boundless vitality and an ancient, majestic aura. A presence far more magnificent than the cosmic sea, with laws more profound and complete, engulfed him. He had arrived at the origin continent. Li Wei paused before the exit, casting a glance back at the long, perilous reincarnation passage and the familiar cosmic sea on the other end. There lay his kin and the legends he had left behind. Resolutely, he turned and took a step forward, fully stepping into the brilliant light. After a slight sensation of temporal and spatial transformation, the pressure surrounding him suddenly lessened, and his vision expanded. He stood in an entirely new realm. The sky was a lofty tapestry of 9 colors, with swirling clouds that manifested the essence of the Tao. The earth was boundless, with mountains and rivers imbued with unimaginable energy and principles. The air was suffused with a pure and rich essence, 1,000-fold purer than that of the cosmic sea. Perception unfurled, and Li Wei sensed an array of formidable life forces lying dormant in the myriad corners of this vast continent. Among them, some exuded a sense of threat even to him, who had recently transcended the cycle of reincarnation. Here, the stability of space was beyond imagination, and the laws were so lucid they seemed to beckon. This was the origin continent, a realm where the strong abounded, opportunities were boundless, and dangers lurked everywhere. Taking a deep breath, Li Wei attuned himself to the resonance between this world and his being. Within him, a miniature universe spanning billions of light years pulsated gently, as if rejoicing in a long-awaited reign, autonomously absorbing the higher-order primordial energy that surrounded him. The shadow of the chaos bell upon his shoulder emitted a barely audible chime, seemingly responding to some distant existence deep within this realm. Within the depths of his soul, the system became more vibrant the moment he entered the origin continent. The swiftly refreshing information in the logs indicated that it was fervently scanning, adapting, and deciphering the fundamental rules of this advanced world. Li Wei's gaze swept across this magnificent new world, his expression calm, yet imbued with determination. The ultimate secrets of the system, the source of the Chaos Bell, and a higher realm awaited him. His legend was poised to unveil a new chapter amidst the grand tapestry of this world. Chapter 102. The first arrival at the Origin Continent. A flick of the finger sends the Source hunters reeling. Stepping out of the reincarnation passage and officially entering the Origin Continent, Li Wei immediately sensed a stark contrast to the cosmic sea. The stability of space here exceeded imagination. Even with his divine perception at the void true god level, he could only encompass a radius of approximately 1 light-year. Beyond that, he encountered obscurity and difficulty, as if an invisible barrier obstructed him. The air was thick with not just simple cosmic energy, but with a purer essence, closer to the source of the laws. Each wisp of this primordial energy contained the nuances of various lower-order laws, even faintly brushing against the fringes of higher-order laws. Truly, the Origin Continent was a place where laws manifested and primordial energy flourished. To cultivate here for a day was likely equivalent to a century of arduous training in the cosmic sea, Li Wei mused, while simultaneously operating the system at full capacity. Akin to a top-tier hacker encountering a new programming language for the first time, frantically scanning, deciphering, and documenting the foundational structural rules of this new world. Detected high concentration of highly active primordial energy, provisionally named Source Qi. Adaptive absorption and transformation initiated. Analyzing the foundational spatial structure of the Origin Continent. With a stability coefficient 128 times that of the cosmic sea. Detected unknown higher-order law networks, revealing a 173-point divergence from known temporal and spatial laws. Comparative analysis initiated. Environmental energy level assessment. Extremely high. System energy absorption efficiency elevated to 325 times that of the cosmic sea. The feedback from the system cascaded through Li Wei's consciousness like a waterfall. He could distinctly perceive that merely standing here and absorbing the surrounding source qi, the efficiency of the realm value transformed by the system far exceeded the benefits of proactively absorbing various damages in the cosmic sea. And this was merely the concentration of source qi in what appeared to be the most ordinary region of this continent. He endeavored to summon his divine power, only to discover that its operation was somewhat constrained. However, concurrently, the essence of his divine energy seemed to undergo an exceedingly gradual purification and enhancement under the infusion of primal energy. Within his body lay a miniature universe, spanning billions of light years in diameter, which, akin to a parched land welcoming a long-awaited rain, instinctively and voraciously absorbed the external primal energy. The fundamental essence of the universe was slowly expanding at an almost imperceptible pace. It was essential to first comprehend the basic circumstances of this region. Li Wei extended his consciousness to scan a 1 light-year radius around him. Before him unfolded a vast and boundless wasteland, densely populated with vegetation, many of which he had never encountered, emanating a powerful life force. Some plants even instilled in him a subtle sense of threat. In the distance, mountains coiled like a great dragon, their presence ancient and imposing. Just as he prepared to delve deeper into exploration, he raised an eyebrow slightly. On the periphery of his consciousness, 3 distinct auras, imbued with palpable malice, were rapidly approaching his location. The intensity of these 3 auras was approximately at the initial level of the void true god, their energy bearing a unified, slightly sinister quality. Clearly belonging to the same faction, it appeared that a welcoming ceremony awaited him upon his arrival. Li Wei remained unfazed, standing still, awaiting their arrival. In mere moments, 3 streaks of light pierced through the air, halting before him. The newcomers were 3 cultivators clad in uniform dark teal armor, their expressions stern, with a grotesque beast's head totem etched upon the chest plate. At the forefront stood a middle-aged man with piercing eyes, sharp as a falcon, whose aura was the strongest among the trio, nearing the intermediate level of the void true god. Who are you? Why do you trespass upon the territory of the Hei's sect? The hawk-eyed man scrutinized Li Wei with a gaze that conveyed both examination and a hint of barely concealed greed. He could not discern the specifics of Li Wei's realm. Yet the energy fluctuations and the temporal and spatial rhythms emanating from him, so distinct from those of the practitioners of the Origin Continent, led him to conclude that this individual was a newly ascended being who had recently transcended the cycle of reincarnation. Ascended beings often possessed unique opportunities linked to the primordial universe, rendering them prime targets for certain factions. The other 2 cultivators dispersed slightly, subtly forming an encirclement, their energies locking onto Li Wei. Hei's sect? Li Wei replied with a calm demeanor. I have just arrived here and am unaware of the ownership of this land. Humph. Unaware? The hawk-eyed man scoffed coldly. Any ascendant entering the territory of the Hei's sect must pay 10,000 source crystals or equivalent treasures to obtain temporary residency rights. Judging by your appearance, you likely cannot afford such a fee. In that case, his eyes glinted with coldness. You shall accompany us back to the sect and await your fate. Before his words had fully left his lips, one of the cultivators beside him, bearing a scarred face, had already made his move. A spectral blue curved blade sliced through the air, bringing with it a chilling aura capable of freezing souls. aimed directly at Li Wei's neck. As the blade passed, the space around it shimmered with delicate ice crystals, clearly imbued with impressive ice-based principles. Another short and stout cultivator formed hand seals, causing the ground to transform instantly into a murky black swamp, from which countless ghostly hands, conjured from dark primal energy, emerged to grasp at Li Wei's feet, restricting his movements. Their cooperation was evidently seamless, suggesting that this was not their first encounter with such a scheme. In the face of their assault, Li Wei did not even shift his stance. He merely raised his gaze, glancing at the descending blade and the grasping ghostly hands. Disperse. With a light and effortless utterance, it seemed as though his words wielded the power of enchantment. The piercing azure blade light, upon nearing Li Wei by several paces, encountered an invisible barrier, causing the ice-based laws within to instantaneously spiral into chaos and disintegrate. The blade light itself vanished silently, akin to snow under the sun. Meanwhile, the multitude of dark, spectral hands reaching from the ground were consumed by an inferno, dissipating into wisps of black smoke before they could even graze the hem of Li Wei's garments, assimilated by the naturally circulating source energy surrounding him. Absorbing lower-tier ice-based law attacks, analyzing the characteristics of ice-based law applications in the origin continent, absorbing the energy of dark restraints, optimizing resistance to negative energy. The system swiftly concluded the analysis and transformation of these two energies, providing Li Wei with a more intuitive understanding of the fundamental laws of the origin continent. What? The three practitioners of Hei's sect simultaneously paled, their eyes filled with incredulous horror. They had scarcely discerned how the attack was executed before it was so effortlessly neutralized. The power of this ascendant far exceeded their expectations. The hawk-eyed man reacted the quickest, realizing he had struck a hard wall, and without hesitation, he shattered a talisman, sending forth a subtle wave towards the distance, evidently a signal for assistance. At the same time, he barked, "Form a formation. Trap him." The three donned in armor glimmered brightly, their dark azure source energy intertwining to instantaneously form a triangular confinement array, chains of energy coiling towards Li Wei in an attempt to bind him. Li Wei slightly shook his head, having lost interest in further probing. How dare these insignificant ants make such noise? With his fingers poised like a sword, he lightly swept towards the energy formation. A delicate, nearly transparent ripple of space emanated forth. There was no earth-shattering spectacle. Yet the triangular confinement array and the energy chains connecting the three were severed as if sliced by the sharpest of blades, instantly shattering. Uft! The three Hei's sect practitioners, as if struck by a heavy blow, simultaneously spewed blood, their vitality waning in an instant, their gazes towards Li Wei now akin to that of a monster. Li Wei refrained from delivering a fatal blow. Being new to this realm, he sought information rather than indiscriminately making enemies. His gaze fell upon the hawk-eyed man, an invisible will of pressure descending upon him. Tell me, where is this place within the origin continent? What level of power is the Hei's sect? Under the weight of this soul-shaking pressure, the hawk-eyed man could no longer muster any resistance. His face ashen, he trembled as he spoke. Please spare me, esteemed senior. This is within the territory of Wu country, at the edge of the vast wasteland. The Hei sect is a minor sect affiliated with the Qiyue sect, with its strongest member being an ancestor at the pinnacle of the void true god. Wu country? Qiyue sect? Li Wei noted these names and continued to inquire. Concentrate all your knowledge about the map of this region, the distribution of powers, and the fundamental knowledge of the origin continent into a mental imprint and present it to me. Under the overwhelming disparity of power, the eagle-eyed man dared not conceal anything. He swiftly condensed all the information he possessed into a luminous orb and respectfully presented it to Li Wei. As Li Wei's consciousness swept over it, a torrent of information flooded into his mind, granting him a preliminary understanding of his surroundings. Begone. Should I encounter any further misdeeds from you, I shall show no mercy. The three disciples of the Hei sect, as if granted amnesty, hastily transformed into streaks of light, fleeing in terror, fearful that this harbinger of doom might change his mind. Li Wei paid little heed to these minor characters. He was engrossed in digesting the newly acquired information, his gaze directed toward the depths of the desolate wasteland. Wu Kingdom. A vast and desolate expanse, it seemed but a trifling corner of the origin continent. The analysis of the system, the enhancement of power, and the exploration of the Chaos Bell's essence, everything was merely at its inception. With a decisive step, he melded into the fabric of space, heading toward a relatively secure gathering place for cultivators, the direction of Qishan City, as mentioned in the information. The tapestry of the origin continent was gradually unfolding with each of his strides. Chapter 103. A glimpse into the world within Qishan City. The trial of the lava mountain range system. From the consciousness imprint of that Hei sect cultivator, Li Wei gained an initial understanding of his location. This place was known as the Vast Wasteland, expansive yet relatively barren, situated on the border of the Wu Kingdom. The Hei sect was merely a small sect clinging to a larger force known as the Qiyue sect, barely managing to establish itself in this region. His current destination lay about 1,000,000 light-years away, a border city directly governed by the Qiyue sect, Qishan City. In the cosmic sea, 1,000,000 light-years could be traversed in the blink of an eye. However, within the stable confines of the origin continent, where the rules were heavily enforced. Even Li Wei could not execute a large-scale instantaneous relocation. He employed temporal and spatial techniques, his form flickering between the tangible realm and deeper dimensions. His speed far exceeding that of ordinary void true gods, yet it took him several days to finally arrive near Qishan City. From a distance, Qishan City was not situated upon a plain, but rather built against a backdrop of towering, dark red mountains. The city walls soared into the clouds, inscribed with countless intricate array runes, faintly glowing with the brilliance of source energy, emanating a formidable defensive aura. Above the city, a regiment of cultivators clad in standardized armor patrolled, exhibiting strict discipline. The entire city exuded an air of weightiness, antiquity, and orderly governance. At the city gates, cultivators stood guard, requiring all entrants to pay a certain amount of source crystals or present identity tokens. Source crystals served as the universal energy currency of the origin continent. Formed from highly refined source energy, usable for cultivation, powering arrays, and conducting trade, Li Wei restrained his aura, maintaining his energy fluctuations at the initial level of a void true god, blending into the throng moving toward the city gates. He possessed neither source crystals nor identity tokens. The entry fee is 10 low-grade source crystals, the gatekeeper stated expressionlessly, his gaze scanning Li Wei's attire, which differed slightly from that of the local cultivators. He paid little mind, as ascenders, though uncommon, were not unheard of. Li Wei's thoughts stirred as he extracted a thread of the most refined primordial energy from his miniature universe, condensing it at his fingertips into a crystal roughly the size of a fingernail, translucent, and seemingly swirling with nebulae within. The purity of energy radiating from this crystal far surpassed the low-grade source crystals he had gleaned from the memories of the Black Zeal sect's cultivators. This exquisite source crystal was a product of his analysis of source energy, simulated and condensed from the essence of his own miniature universe, boasting exceptional quality. Upon receiving the crystal, the guarding cultivator was momentarily taken aback. After a moment of careful sensing, a flicker of astonishment crossed his eyes, and his demeanor shifted to one of respect. "Please, esteemed senior, enter." He did not inquire further. One capable of effortlessly condensing such pure energy was undoubtedly no ordinary void true god. Li Wei nodded slightly and stepped into the city. The sights within the city were even more splendid. The streets, wide and paved with a type of azure stone, were remarkably sturdy. Towering edifices lined both sides, exuding an ancient and grand aesthetic, housing shops selling various divine weapons, armor, elixirs, and talismans, as well as establishments providing meditation chambers and information. Occasionally, cultivators could be seen traversing the skies, riding on strange mounts or manipulating light, their auras varying from the powerful presence of law masters, true gods, to the lesser-known void true gods. Now and then, whispers of obscure and profound auras, possibly those of eternal true gods, could be sensed. The streets were bustling with throngs of people, a cacophony of conversations filling the air. "Have you heard? The Qi Yu sect's triennial selection for outer disciples is about to commence, and this time, it seems they have relaxed the age restrictions. The Wanbao Tower in the eastern part of the city has received a new batch of fire essence jades from the depths of the lava mountains, but alas, they are priced excessively. There have been disturbances at the edge of the wasteland. Several small clans have been annihilated, reportedly at the hands of the Shadow Killers. It seems there are stirrings from the royal family, possibly related to the relics of the Gene world." As Li Wei strolled through the streets, his demeanor appeared casual. Yet his consciousness expanded like an invisible web, capturing every fragment of useful information. The system was also in full operation, analyzing the city's array structures, the energy attributes of the cultivators, the names of factions concealed within their discourse, and geographical terms. He entered a prominent intelligence agency named by Shao Pavilion. Spending 10 high-quality source crystals, he had self-condensed to acquire more detailed jade slips on a compendium of the Wu Kingdom and fundamental observations of the origin continent. Seeking a quiet tea house, he requested a private room and began to peruse the information contained within the jade slips. The origin continent, vast and boundless, had its known territories divided into 5 major domains: east, west, south, north, and central, each immense and home to countless races, sects, and nations. The Wu Kingdom was merely one of the myriad vassal states under the southern domain's Tianmu Divine Kingdom. Yet its territory vastly exceeded that of the human realm within the cosmic sea by 100-fold. The Qi Yu sect was regarded as a first-rate force within the Wu Kingdom, with an eternal true god presiding over its ranks. In terms of cultivation realms, beyond the true god, lawmaster, lay the void true god and the eternal true god, collectively referred to as sacred existence, chaos sovereign, along with the legendary divine king. The chasm between each major realm was akin to an insurmountable abyss. The currency, resources, techniques, perilous locations, and various information of the origin continent are intricate and multifaceted, allowing Li Wei to gain a clearer understanding of this vast world. Resources are essential for delving deeper into the mysteries of the system and enhancing one's strength. Thus, an abundance of resources is required. Li Wei set aside the jade slip, his gaze drifting through the window towards the sprawling dark red mountains beyond the city, the lava mountains. According to the information, this region is rich in various fire attribute ores and spiritual herbs, yet it is fraught with danger, inhabited by numerous formidable native ferocious beasts, including those of the void true god caliber. While it may be perilous for others, for Li Wei, who possesses a system capable of absorbing and converting all damage, it could very well serve as an exceptional training ground and resource gathering site. He departed from the tea house, exiting Qishan City, and made his way directly towards the lava mountains. As he entered the mountain range, the air became extraordinarily vibrant and fierce with fire attribute source energy. The temperatures soaring drastically. Even an ordinary realm master would likely vaporize instantaneously in such conditions. The ground was interlaced with dark red rivers of lava, and the scent of sulfur permeated the air. Rather than flying, Li Wei chose to walk deeper into the mountains, deliberately relaxing some of his defenses to allow the searing heat and volatile fire poison energy to permeate his being, absorbing advanced fire attribute source energy erosion, analyzing the manifestation characteristics of the fire laws of the origin continent, absorbing earth vein fire poison energy, optimizing the divine body's resistance to negative energy, enhancing conversion efficiency, detecting fragments of lava law within the environment, commencing documentation. The system operated efficiently, transforming the harm brought by the harsh external environment into nourishment. Li Wei's comprehension of the fire laws, particularly the origin continent's version, began to accelerate rapidly. He could even sense that within the microcosm of his being, the area representing the essence of fire was becoming increasingly radiant and animated. Suddenly, a beast resembling a lizard, covered in crimson scales and exceeding 100 feet in length, erupted from the lava river, exuding a violent aura akin to that of a nascent void true god. It opened its massive jaws, attempting to bite Li Wei, the flames it exhaled capable of melting even the most formidable treasures. Unflinching, Li Wei allowed the flames to engulf him. As the fire enveloped him, the majority of its power was instantaneously absorbed and converted by the system, while the remaining portion was effortlessly endured by his divine body, which operated at a 100,000-fold genetic level. He reached out, his fingers splayed, pressing against the beast's descending claw. Crack! The beast's claw, comparable to a treasure, shattered like fragile glass. The creature emitted a pained howl, its eyes filled with terror, attempting to retreat. Li Wei unleashed a force from his palm, and the system began to extract the life essence of the beast along with the fragments of lava law contained within it. In a matter of moments, the beast collapsed as a dry corpse, its life essence and insights into the laws now serving as sustenance for Li Wei. The efficiency was commendable. Li Wei nodded slightly and continued his descent into the depths. He specifically sought out ferocious beasts of the void true god level or ventured into areas with extremely harsh environments and tumultuous energies, willingly enduring attacks to absorb and convert them. Days later, he had ventured deep into the heart of the mountain range. The environment here is exceedingly terrifying. The void itself distorted by intense heat, and the ground beneath is perpetually at risk of eruption. He even encountered a colossal flame giant, a being that had reached the pinnacle of the void true god level and mastered certain secrets of the heart of lava. The giant's assaults are ferociously violent, with each movement igniting the earth's fire, displaying tremendous power. Engaging in a fierce battle, Li Wei absorbed the essence of flame and the laws of lava embedded within the giant's attacks through his system, leading to a significant enhancement in his comprehension of fire. Ultimately, he delivered a devastating blow, vanquishing the giant and collecting several hundred pounds of precious fire essence jade accumulated within its lair. Just as he prepared to delve deeper into exploration, a slight frown crossed his brow as he gazed towards the deeper mountains. There, he sensed a subtle yet immensely powerful aura, imbued with a chilling intent to kill, seemingly drawn by the fluctuations of the battle in this locale, quietly lurking closer. Was it a beast of eternal true god caliber, or something else entirely? Instead of fear, a glimmer of interest appeared in Li Wei's eyes. It was the perfect opportunity to test the system's capability to analyze and withstand higher-level attacks. He purposefully stepped towards the direction of that aura. New challenges also signify new opportunities. In the depths of the lava mountains, the concealed yet formidable icy killing intent ultimately did not erupt. Perhaps it sensed the unfathomable power emanating from Li Wei, who had effortlessly slain the pinnacle flame giant of the void true god level, and chose to retreat silently. Li Wei did not probe further. His primary objective had already been achieved. He had initially adapted to the environment of the origin continent, tested the efficacy of the system in this new setting, and acquired a batch of resources. He sought a relatively tranquil, expansive cavern formed of cooled black basalt, and after establishing a simple spatio-temporal isolation barrier, Li Wei sat cross-legged, deciding to engage in profound introspection and reflection. Having achieved 100,000 times the gene perfection, traversed a universe spanning billions of light years, and transcended the cycle of reincarnation, it was time to meticulously examine his current state, particularly the specific data of the system. He immersed his mind entirely within, establishing a close connection with the system's luminous orb deep within his consciousness and soul's essence. System. Display the current complete status panel in a comprehensible, data-driven format. Upon issuing the command, the system's chaotic light swirled, and an extraordinarily clear virtual screen, seemingly composed of countless intricate runic laws, materialized within Li Wei's sea of consciousness. Upon this screen, various data points were meticulously categorized and displayed in detail. Host, Li Wei. Life level, 100,000 times perfect gene. Eternal uniqueness has reached the theoretical pinnacle of the current cosmic sea, possessing immense potential and adaptability within the origin continent. Cultivation realm, void true god, foundation. Actual combat power assessment. Under normal circumstances, it can rival the peak of an ordinary eternal true god. When all trump cards are unleashed, system overclocking, the chaos clock's true form, and small-scale cosmic projections, it poses a threat to early-stage saint-level beings, chaos sovereign. Divine body strength, a flawless physique, initially formed. It can automatically decompose, absorb, and transform the vast majority of laws and energy impacts below its own life tier, achieving a remarkable unity of physical and spiritual defenses. Divine power reserve, vast as the abyss, interconnected with the source of a miniature universe spanning billions of light years within. With a recovery speed that approaches infinity, characteristic of the eternal source. Core talent and abilities. 1. Absorption and transformation system, permission level. Core function. Indiscriminately absorbs all forms of damage inflicted upon the host, including physical, energy, spiritual, causal, and rule backlash. Converting it into realm value or directly analyzing it into insights of laws, energy reserves, or resources for optimizing the divine body. Current absorption efficiency. In the origin continent environment, physical and energy impacts, 99.97. Spiritual and will impacts, 99.95. Rule and conceptual level impacts, under analysis. Absorption efficiency depends on rule hierarchy. Current absorption efficiency for basic rules of the origin continent is approximately 85, with higher rules under analysis. Environmental assimilation and absorption. Passive continuously absorbs and transforms external source energy and environmental radiation, with an efficiency of 325 during the cosmic sea period. Controllability of transformation direction. Can autonomously guide the transformed energy for enhancing divine power, optimizing the divine body, comprehending specific laws, healing injuries, or storing it within the miniature universe. Special modules. Rule analysis module deeply analyzes all law information contained within absorbed energy and compares it with the host's existing knowledge base for optimization. Current focus of analysis. Basic spatial structure of the origin continent, 98. Basic fire laws, 92. Basic material composition, 89. Demand response module, newly activated, can perform directed deducing and assistance based on the host's proactive requests, such as specific law comprehension directions, secret method simulations, energy property simulations, etc. Consuming a certain amount of energy and computational power, cooldown time correlates with the difficulty of deduction. 2. Talent secret method, eternal moment, bestowed by the cosmic source. Effect, creates an absolute space-time singularity, where time is completely still and space is an absolute barrier, isolating everything inside from the outside. The caster is unaffected. Consumption, extremely high. Proportional to the duration and range maintained. Current limit, at full power, can maintain a diameter of 100 meters, with time stasis lasting approximately 0.1 seconds. Sufficient to turn the tide of battle or withstand fatal blows at critical moments. 3. Self-created secret method, space-time forbidden domain, true god level, among the strongest in the universe. Effect, a domain-type secret method that significantly suppresses space-time within the domain, delaying enemy actions and thoughts, and weakening the perception of laws and the operation of divine power. Current power can easily suppress void true gods, significantly affecting eternal true gods, and causing certain disruptions to saint-level beings. Growth potential, extremely high. Enhanced with the host's comprehension of the laws of time and space. Core treasure, chaotic clock, innate supreme treasure, origin unknown. Status, initially recognized by its master. Deeply bound to the host's soul origin, system, and the heart of time and space. Known functions, suppression of the primordial, absolute defense that is impervious to myriad attacks. Capable of withstanding most physical, energy, soul, and law-based assaults. Manipulation of time and space. Control over time and space, enabling acceleration, deceleration, stillness, distortion. And aiding in cultivation and combat. Counterattack, capable of reflecting a portion of incoming attack energy. Resonance of Tao rhythm. Subtly resonates with the deep rules of the origin continent. Seemingly related to its source. Current utilization level, preliminary. Requires a higher realm and corresponding secret methods to unleash its full power. Internal miniature universe, scale, diameter of 100 billion light-years, surpassing the limits of ordinary void true gods, comparable to certain eternal true god universes with immense potential. Structure, perfect gene-level evolution, complete laws, and an extraordinarily stable framework. Source, vast and magnificent, connecting to the host's divine power core, providing nearly infinite divine support and recovery. Characteristics, autonomous growth, capable of autonomously absorbing external source energy for gradual expansion and enhancement. Internal life generation, has begun to nurture the most primitive life imprints, earthkin and certain collected life forms temporarily residing in designated star domains. Rule experimentation field. Utilizing the host's will, can simulate and deduce various combinations of laws and secret methods within the universe, with the cost of failure borne by the universe's source. Affiliates. Realm Beast King Morosa and its commanded legion of realm beasts, transformed into the form of cosmic guardian beasts, residing in a specially established Annihilation Star domain, serving as a hidden force. Current main law comprehension progress. Higher laws. Space law. Perfect, according to Cosmic Sea standards. Optimization for the origin continent in progress. 98. Time law. Perfect, according to Cosmic Sea standards, touching on retrogression and the edges of causality. Optimization for the origin continent in progress. 95. Lower laws. The 8 foundational laws of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, and light are all perfected, according to Cosmic Sea standards, with optimization for the origin continent in progress. Average 88. Special laws. Destruction law. Through absorption of realm beast power in the environment of the lava mountains. Profound comprehension, having touched the threshold of its source. Progress 72. Devouring law. Through the system and realm beast power, deeply understood and integrated into system operations and certain secret methods. Progress 81. Newly contacted laws in the origin continent. Lava law. 35. Certain foundational material laws. 28. Unknown higher rules. Analyzing 1. Resource reserves. Source crystals can be simulated and condensed at any time through the source of the miniature universe, of exceptionally high quality, with theoretically limitless quantity, though large-scale condensation will diminish the growth rate of the universe's source. Material. Fire essence jade, approximately 800 pounds, various volcanic mountain ores, and several spiritual herbs. Value pending assessment. Treasure points and inheritance. None. Must be reacquired and evaluated on the origin continent. Gazing at this meticulously detailed panel, Li Wei gained a clearer understanding of his strengths and weaknesses. Strengths. 1. Absolute adaptability and growth of the system. Regardless of the environment, he can transform adversity into resources, which is his greatest reliance for establishing himself and swiftly rising on the origin continent. 2. Perfect foundation. 10,000 times the genetic potential and a universe spanning billions of light years provide him with divine power, defense, and potential that far exceeds that of his peers. 3. The potential of the chaotic bell. Although currently utilized superficially, its high status promises a bright future. 4. Unique combat capability. His actual fighting strength far surpasses his apparent realm, affording him the means to combat beyond his level. Weaknesses awaiting enhancement. 1. The realm itself. The foundation of the void true god is not considered top tier on the origin continent. He must elevate it to the eternal true god, or even higher, as soon as possible. 2. Knowledge and inheritance of the origin continent. His understanding of local profound secrets, artifact forging, alchemy, and formations is minimal. 3. Lack of influence. Currently, he is alone, with a singular source of information and limited channels for acquiring high-level resources. 4. Higher authority of the system. The origin of the system remains enigmatic. Its higher permissions may unlock more extraordinary functions, necessitating exploration of the conditions for activation. The urgent priority is to elevate his foundational realm to that of the eternal true god and systematically learn the inherited knowledge of the origin continent to address his weaknesses. The disciple selection of the Chiyu sect may serve as a promising entry point. Li Wei contemplated this while continuing to leverage the system's characteristics, actively seeking sources of damage to accelerate his accumulation. He withdrew from introspection, opened his eyes, and the fleeting light of data streams in his gaze sharpened his vision of the future path, rising and dispelling the restrictions. He resolved to return to Qishan City, first to prepare for the Chiyu sect selection. The wonders of the origin continent awaited him to be experienced and conquered step by step, while the ultimate secret of the system remained to be unveiled. Chapter 105. Returning to the city and encountering turmoil, testing his skills against many cultivators. Departing from the volcanic mountain range, Li Wei did not hasten his journey with full force, but instead flew at the usual speed of a void true god, allocating part of his focus to continue passively absorbing and analyzing the ubiquitous source energy from the surroundings, subtly adjusting the compatibility of his divine power with the environment of the origin continent. Days later, the imposing silhouette of Qishan City, resting against the dark red mountains, came into view once more. As he approached the city gates, he keenly sensed a change in the atmosphere compared to a few days prior. The number of guards seemed to have increased, and the inspections were more stringent, particularly for solitary cultivators whose auras appeared less formidable, as they were scrutinized with particular care. Li Wei maintained the energy fluctuations of a novice void true god as he approached the city gates. He noticed that not far ahead, a group of 3 was being detained by the guards. The 3 individuals appeared to be members of a small family, with the most accomplished among them being a youthful boy whose countenance bore a hint of stubbornness, possessing a cultivation level at the peak of the true god realm. The 2 accompanying men, seemingly attendants, were merely ordinary true gods. Identity token, commanded the captain of the guard, a robust figure clad in black armor, his voice cold and unyielding. The boy hurriedly produced an antiquated jade token and presented it. The captain accepted it, his consciousness sweeping over it, and his brow furrowed in confusion. Qingmu Town Lin family? I have not heard of it. According to regulations, a formal identity token certified under the Qiyue sect must be jointly guaranteed by 3 shops within the city or require the payment of a temporary entry fee of 100 low-grade source crystals, along with submission to a verification by the source reflection mirror. The boy's complexion paled, and his attendants displayed expressions of embarrassment. For a family on the fringes like theirs, 100 low-grade source crystals was no trivial sum. Esteemed sir, the boy pleaded, our Lin family has served the Qiyue sect in the past, and this token is undoubtedly genuine. We have come to sell some medicinal herbs accumulated by our family in exchange for source crystals to participate in the Qiyue sect selection, and we truly do not possess such an amount. Without it, we must adhere to the rules. The captain remained unmoved, gesturing for his subordinate to retrieve an ancient mirror inscribed with runes, its surface hazy, and to stand before the source reflection mirror. A flicker of humiliation crossed the boy's eyes, yet the circumstances compelled him. Gritting his teeth, he prepared to step forward. Just then, a calm voice resonated. I shall cover their entry fee. The crowd turned towards the source of the voice to find a young man in a simple azure robe, exuding a repressed aura. With flowing black hair, none other than Li Wei. With a flicker of light from his fingertips, 10 crystalline, high-quality source crystals, imbued with the essence of starry nebulae, materialized and accurately flew towards the captain. These were crystals Li Wei had personally condensed, their quality far surpassing that of low-grade crystals, even exceeding the purity of ordinary mid-grade ones. As the captain received the crystals and sensed the unparalleled energy within, his pupils contracted, and he cast a penetrating gaze at Li Wei. He recognized Li Wei, having seen him enter the city days prior with similar high-quality crystals. The ease with which he produced such items, combined with his profound aura, indicated he was no ordinary individual. The captain's stern demeanor melted away, replaced by a hint of a smile. Your generosity is greatly appreciated, esteemed sir. With your assurance, there is no need for further verification. He waved his hand, instructing his subordinates to stow the source reflection mirror and return the identity token to the boy, gesturing towards Li Wei. Please, esteemed sir. The Lin family boy stood dumbfounded until Li Wei passed by him, at which point he regained his senses and hurriedly followed, deeply bowing with his 2 attendants. Thank you for your gracious assistance, esteemed sir. I am Lin Feng, and I would be grateful to know your esteemed name. This kindness shall surely be repaid. Li Wei did not pause his stride, merely replying in a tranquil tone, it was a mere act of kindness. There is no need for concern. He was not a do-gooder without reason. His motivations were threefold. First, the boy's plight evoked memories of humanity's early struggles in the universe. Second, it provided an opportunity to further observe the customs and social dynamics of Qishan City. And third, the boy's gaze, filled with determination and a yearning to participate in the selection, suggested he might offer insights into the deeper layers of information. Lin Feng, however, dared not be negligent, closely trailing behind Li Wei, and murmured, for the senior, it is but a trivial task. For me, it is a means of extrication from dire straits. Should the senior require assistance, I would not hesitate to lay down my life. Li Wei, noncommittal, entered the city with the intention of seeking out a place that sold martial arts manuals. However, having walked only a short distance, he was intercepted at the corner of a relatively secluded street by 5 figures. These individuals donned a hodgepodge of attire, their eyes fierce and their auras resonating at the void, true god level. At the forefront stood a burly man with a scarred face, his cultivation having reached the late stage of the void, true god. Their avaricious gazes were fixated upon Li Wei, clearly having noted his casual display of high-quality source crystals at the city gate, harboring malicious intent. Kid, quite the spendthrift, aren't we? Care to lend some source crystals for the brothers to enjoy? The scar-faced brute sneered, a formidable aura pressing down upon Li Wei in an attempt to intimidate him. They had been lying in wait, having identified Li Wei as a solitary target, seemingly of lower cultivation, outwardly appearing as a novice void true god, and likely a plump prey who had recently arrived in Qishan City. Behind him, Lin Feng and the others turned pale, instinctively retreating a few steps, anxiously glancing at Li Wei. Yet, Li Wei maintained a tranquil demeanor, not even glancing at the scar-faced man, merely surveying the 5 as if they were mere pebbles by the roadside. He was keen to conduct a more direct test of the system's feedback in combat when confronted by opponents of equal or slightly superior caliber on the origin continent. If you wish to live, then leave. Li Wei's voice was devoid of any tremor. The scar-faced man was taken aback, then erupted in fury, seeking death. He unleashed a powerful punch, the wind from his strike swirling with an earthy golden radiance, drawing upon the surrounding source energy to manifest an illusory mountain that crashed down upon Li Wei. This blow was sufficient to severely injure a typical mid-stage void true god. The other 4 also sprang into action, blades, swords, and chains assailing Li Wei from various angles, sealing off all avenues of retreat. Their coordination evident of seasoned criminals accustomed to such lethal endeavors. In the face of this onslaught, capable of leaving even cultivators of the same level flustered, Li Wei remained rooted, neither dodging nor flinching, absorbing earth elemental law mixed with physical impact, analyzing application patterns of earth elemental laws on the origin continent. Conversion efficiency 99. 98. Absorbing sharp energy impacts of the metal element, optimizing the divine body's resistance to physical piercing, absorbing binding law fluctuations, analysis in progress. The system's notifications flickered through his consciousness in an instant. What had appeared to be a momentous assault was rendered largely ineffective as the attacks neared him. The overwhelming majority of energy was absorbed and dismantled by the system, leaving behind a trivial remnant that couldn't even disturb the hem of Li Wei's garment. What? The sinister smiles on the faces of the scar-faced man and his companions froze, transforming into expressions of disbelief and horror. They felt as if their strikes had landed in an unfathomable cosmic abyss, failing to stir even a ripple. In that moment, Li Wei made his move. Simply raising his right hand, fingers slightly spread, he gently pressed forward. There was no cataclysmic display, only an invisible yet vast will accompanied by a pure surge of divine power that erupted with thunderous force. Centered around Li Wei, the space within 100 feet seemed to instantaneously freeze. The five void, true gods felt as though they were ensnared by invisible shackles. Their divine power sluggish and their thoughts dulled. Their unleashed attacks resembled insects trapped in amber, suspended mid-air before shattering into countless fragments and vanishing. With a series of muted gasps, the five expelled torrents of blood, as if struck by an unseen giant hammer, hurtling backward and crashing violently against the walls reinforced by formations on either side of the street, bones fracturing beyond reckoning, their vitality swiftly waning, eyes brimming with boundless terror. The domain. Such a fearsome domain. This individual had undoubtedly concealed his true strength. The scarred, burly man felt his soul tremble in despair, desperately attempting to rise and plead for mercy. Yet, Li Wei did not even cast a glance in their direction. As if he had merely swatted away a few bothersome flies. He retracted his hand and addressed Lin Feng, who stood behind him, utterly astonished. Let us depart. It was only then that Lin Feng and his entourage awakened from their stupor, gazing at Li Wei with profound reverence and admiration. A nascent void true god? Without a single strike, merely pressing down with his domain, he had subdued 5 opponents of equal or even superior standing. What terrifying power this was. Yes, senior. Lin Feng's voice trembled slightly as he hurried to follow. Around them, curious minds drawn by the commotion began to retreat like a receding tide, filled with trepidation. The previously lurking gazes of those with ill intentions vanished without a trace. Following this encounter, Li Wei established a formidable reputation in this region. Furthermore, he confirmed the system's efficiency in energy absorption during combat, as well as his absolute dominance among the low-tier cultivators of Qishan City. Next, it was time to acquire the knowledge he sought. Li Wei's gaze turned toward the most grandiose and imposing cluster of buildings in the city, which housed the various merchant guilds and auction houses of Qishan City. Chapter 106. Peering into the mystical arts within the 10,000 volumes pavilion. An enlightened eye discerns the arcane secrets. After dispatching the few foolish highwaymen, Li Wei, accompanied by the still-dazed Lin Feng and others, made their way directly to the bustling Wanbao Street at the center of Qishan City. This street gathered the largest merchant guilds, auction houses, and shops specializing in the sale of martial arts tomes. He chose not to enter the larger guilds with complex backgrounds, instead opting for a quaint establishment adorned with the plaque of the 10,000 volumes pavilion. According to the information he had previously gathered, this pavilion enjoyed a commendable reputation, focusing on the sale and appraisal of martial arts literature, with a relatively simple background and minimal entanglement with the major factions. The interior of the store was far more spacious than it appeared from the outside, enhanced by a spatial expansion formation. Rows of rosewood bookshelves were meticulously arranged, displaying countless jade slips, animal skin scrolls, and even ancient bone fragments, all categorized and labeled with the names, attributes, general ranks, and prices of the teachings. A gentle fragrance of ink mingled with the aroma of spiritual wood, creating a serene and solemn atmosphere. A few scattered cultivators perused the shelves, most of their auras residing at the true god level. An elderly man, clad in a gray robe and possessing a gaunt visage, sat behind the counter, engrossed in the meticulous perusal of a bamboo scroll. The aura emanating from him was undeniably that of a peak void true god, imbued with an unmistakable scholarly air. Upon sensing the entrance of Li Wei, particularly the subtle yet profound depth that accompanied him, a glimmer of brilliance flashed in the old man's eyes. He set down the scroll, rose with a smile, and said, "Welcome, esteemed guest. I am one, the steward of the Myriad Scrolls Pavilion. How may I assist you today?" Li Wei inclined his head slightly and articulated his intentions directly. "I seek foundational cultivation methods of the Origin Continent, as well as techniques and entry-level texts concerning alchemy, artifact forging, and formations. It is essential that the content is detailed and the sources are clear." Upon hearing this, Steward Wen's smile widened. Recognizing the arrival of a significant patron, such systematic knowledge acquisitions often came at a considerable price. He gestured invitingly. "Please follow me to a private chamber for a more detailed discussion." After leading Li Wei into a tastefully arranged soundproof room, Steward Wen retrieved a jade plate emanating a gentle white glow from his storage artifact and placed it upon the table. He infused it with a spell, and immediately, a dense array of catalog listings projected above the plate, richly illustrated and thoroughly describing various texts. This is a comprehensive catalog of the cultivation methods compiled by our Myriad Scrolls Pavilion. You may filter according to your needs. Regarding basic cultivation methods, we possess 17 options, including the Primordial Guidance Method, Celestial Star Channel Technique, and River Convergence Treatise, all of which can be cultivated to the pinnacle of the Void True God level. Each set is priced between 500 to 1,000 low-grade source crystals, depending on the method. The foundational texts on artifact forging, alchemy, and formations encompass the identification of common materials in the origin continent, basic talismans, alchemical recipes, and rune inscriptions, sold as complete sets, each priced at 300 low-grade source crystals. Li Wei's gaze swept over the catalog, his consciousness swiftly scanning the summaries. These methods were considered commendable in Qishan City. Yet in his discerning eyes, they were of generally low caliber, capable of reaching only the pinnacle of the Void True God level, with limited potential. Nevertheless, as a means to understand the cultivation framework of the origin continent, they sufficed. I'll take a set of these foundational methods, secret techniques, and the 3 auxiliary arts. Li Wei stated calmly, before adding, additionally, do you possess any methods that delve into the essence of rules, or perhaps some more obscure and unique techniques? Any rank will do, as long as they possess distinctive characteristics. Steward Wen was taken aback. The initial requests were commonplace goods, amounting to only a few thousand low-grade source crystals, but the latter request was indeed peculiar. After a moment of contemplation, he replied, techniques related to the essence of rules are typically at least at the eternal true God level before they can be approached, and our store does not carry such items. However, we do have a fragment of a unique technique, known as the 9 Calamity Thunder Sound, which is a body refinement method that harnesses the thunderous sound of heaven and earth to temper the divine body. It is said that upon reaching mastery, one can transform into thunder itself, impervious to all forms of attack. However, this method is severely incomplete, possessing only the cultivation methods for the first 3 calamities, and the process of drawing lightning to refine the body is exceedingly perilous. A moment's negligence could result in the destruction of one's divine form. It has languished in our storage, gathering dust for many years. If you are interested, it can be acquired for just 100 low-grade source crystals. Very well, Li Wei nodded. Perilous? For me, the greater the danger, the more unique the energy it harbors, thus rendering it even more valuable to the system. The literary steward promptly instructed his attendant to retrieve the goods. Soon, dozens of jade slips containing foundational techniques, secret arts, and auxiliary skills, along with an ancient-looking black jade slip, marred by signs of scorching, were delivered. Li Wei paid the requisite amount of high-quality source crystals. As the steward accepted the crystals, sensing the pure energy within, his smile grew even more fervent. After confirming the transaction, he presented all the jade slips to Li Wei. With the transaction complete, Li Wei did not linger and departed from the Wanwan Tower. Lin Feng and his companions awaited respectfully outside the store and promptly followed upon Li Wei's exit. Senior, Lin Feng hesitated to speak. Li Wei glanced at him and casually replicated the foundational jade slip of the source initial guidance method, tossing it to him. Our meeting signifies fate. This item is bestowed upon you. Practice diligently. During the Qi Yu sect selection, do well. As Lin Feng received the jade slip, his consciousness swept over it, revealing a complete technique capable of cultivating to the realm of the Void True God. He was instantly overwhelmed with excitement. Trembling with anticipation, this was an immense boon for both him and his family. He knelt heavily on the ground, bowing thrice. Senior's great kindness, Lin Feng shall never forget. May I ask for your name? Should I make any progress in the future, I will surely repay you. Li Wei, he replied, and with that, he vanished into the bustling crowd. He did not expect repayment from the youth. It was merely a casual placement of a potential chess piece, perhaps to provide some convenience in the future. Seeking a reputable inn, he rented an independent courtyard equipped with a high-grade cultivation chamber. After activating all protective formations, Li Wei sat cross-legged and first picked up the jade slips containing foundational techniques and auxiliary skills, immersing his consciousness within. A torrent of information flooded his mind as the system initiated, rapidly analyzing, recording, and categorizing. Receiving source initial guidance method. Analyzing the foundational divine power circulation model of the origin continent. Optimizing it against the host's own techniques to establish a new fundamental energy circulation template. Receiving initial understanding of the 100 refinements of weaponry. Analyzing the properties of commonly found refining materials on the origin continent, basic weapon pattern structures, and flame control techniques. Updating the database. Receiving complete compilation of basic array techniques. Analyzing the principles of commonly found formations on the origin continent, rune combinations, energy node arrangements. Deducing flaws and optimization strategies. Given Li Wei's level of cultivation and the system's capabilities, comprehending these foundational concepts was effortless. In mere moments, he grasped the content of all the jade slips and synthesized the knowledge. At this juncture, he attained a systematic understanding of the cultivation framework of the origin continent, encompassing everything from divine power cultivation to auxiliary professions, no longer reliant solely on fragmented information and trial and error. Indeed, The cultivation system of the origin continent placed greater emphasis on resonating with the natural energies of the universe and guiding and utilizing deeper powers of rules. Conversely, the cultivation methods from the Cosmic Sea prioritized the exploration of the inner world and mastery over the fundamental laws, each possessing its own merits and demerits. Li Wei realized that his path should center around the system, drawing from the strengths of both approaches and integrating them harmoniously. He then picked up the battered black jade slip inscribed with 9 Calamity Thunder Sound. As my consciousness delved deeper, a surge of ferocity and destruction, imbued with the majesty of the heavens and earth, struck me with overwhelming force. The techniques inscribed within the jade slip were indeed incomplete. Yet the concepts articulated at the outset were astonishingly profound. They entailed utilizing one's own divine body as a conduit to actively draw upon the thunderous energies of the heavens, particularly the cataclysmic resonance of tribulation thunder that harbored a trace of the essence of annihilation. This thunderous sound would reverberate through the divine body, refining impurities, dismantling the old to forge anew, facilitating a continuous metamorphosis towards an immortal and indestructible form of thunder. The cultivation process was described as exceedingly perilous, necessitating the discovery of specific stormy conditions, and even prompting one to invite lightning upon themselves. A miscalculation could result in utter obliteration of body and spirit. It is no wonder that few dared to practice it. The concept of refining the body through the call of thunder and the resonance of tribulation thunder piqued Li Wei's interest. The method of damage described within this technique was precisely what he required at that moment. The thunder of the origin continent, particularly that which encapsulated the essence of destruction, was of an energy tier and manifestation of laws far surpassing the ordinary lightning found in the Cosmic Sea. He did not commence cultivation immediately, but instead secured the jade slip. This technique required the pursuit of an appropriate stormy environment, which was evidently lacking near Qishan City. Ultimately, he retrieved the fiery essence jade, approximately 1,000 pounds of it, sourced from the lair of the peak void true god flame giant ape in the lava mountains, as well as acquired through various materials. This fiery essence jade radiated a vivid crimson hue, with an appearance that suggested the flow of magma within, emanating a pure and tempestuous wave of fire attribute energy, making it a precious material for cultivating fire-based techniques and forging fire attribute divine weapons. Li Wei grasped 2 fist-sized pieces of fiery essence jade in his hands. With a mere thought, he chose not to absorb the fire attribute energy through conventional means. Instead, he directly activated the system. High concentration, high activity fire attribute primordial substance detected. Do you wish to absorb and analyze? Absorb. With a focus on dissecting the fragments of magma laws and the structural energy of the fire attribute contained within. Command confirmed, absorption commencing. In an instant, it felt as though 2 invisible vortices emerged in the palms of his hands, while the fiery essence jade visibly darkened at a remarkable speed. The flowing crimson energy within surged into Li Wei's body like rivers returning to the sea. The system operated efficiently, refining and transforming the energy, replenishing it into the primordial essence of his miniature universe and his divine power. More importantly, it was stripping away and analyzing the information regarding the characteristics of magma, geothermal energy, and tempestuousness contained within. Li Wei's comprehension of the magma laws began to steadily ascend. Concurrently, he employed the system to conduct a reverse analysis of the internal energy composition of the fiery essence jade, a unique product of the origin continent, laying the groundwork for future simulations or even the creation of similar resources. As time gradually flowed by during his cultivation, upon absorbing the majority of the fiery essence jade, his understanding of the magma laws had increased by several percentage points, and the fire attribute primordial essence within his divine body became more refined and vibrant. The channels for resources, knowledge, and power enhancement had been preliminarily established. Li Wei opened his eyes, a fleeting glimmer of crimson light flashing within them. The next step lay in the Qiyue sect, where a systematic legacy and a broader stage awaited, promising opportunities for discovery. He rose, resolved to first ascertain the specific details regarding the selection process and registration methods of the Qiyue sect. Chapter 107. The initial test on the martial arts platform, where the collision of laws reveals brilliance. In the heart of Qishan City, adjacent to the residence of the Qiyue sect, a vast square buzzed with excitement. The triennial selection of outer disciples for the Qiyue sect had officially commenced. At the center of the square stood 10 towering martial arts platforms, each reaching a height of 100 feet and constructed entirely from azure stone. The surfaces of these platforms were inscribed with runes designed to reinforce and isolate energy, capable of withstanding fierce confrontations at the level of true gods. Surrounding the platforms was a dense crowd of spectators, numbering no less than 100,000. Among them were local cultivators drawn by curiosity, as well as thousands of young cultivators from various regions of the Wu Kingdom and nearby areas, all meeting the criteria to participate in the selection. The requirements for selection were relatively lenient. Candidates must be under 10,000 years of age and possess a cultivation level of at least true god, master of laws. For the expansive Wu Kingdom, those who met these criteria were as numerous as fish in a river. However, only about 100 would ultimately be selected for the outer sect. making the competition exceedingly fierce. Li Wei blended into the throng of participants. His aura still at the initial stage of the true god realm, rendering him unremarkable. He calmly surveyed the 10 martial arts platforms and the few individuals seated upon them, whose profound auras indicated they were the stewards or elders responsible for overseeing the selection, including 2 eternal true gods. Silence. An elder clad in a moon-white robe, with a countenance resembling polished jade, spoke. His voice, though not loud, resonated with undeniable authority that quelled the clamor of the crowd. I am Moon Wuhan, an elder of the outer sect of the Chiyue sect. The rules for this selection remain unchanged. The first round will be a free-for-all. All participants, upon receiving their tokens, were divided into 10 groups, each entering one of the martial arts platforms. Those who remained standing on the platform after a stick of incense burned would advance to the next round. Those who fell from the platform, voluntarily conceded, or lost their combat effectiveness would be eliminated. Deliberate acts leading to death would result in the forfeiture of cultivation and expulsion from Qishan City. The rules were simple and brutal, yet remarkably effective. Within the constraints of time and space, facing numerous opponents, the test encompassed not only individual strength, but also adaptability, perception, and even a measure of fortune. Li Wei received token GUE 73, assigned to the last martial arts platform. He strolled leisurely with the crowd toward the 10th platform. The platform quickly filled with nearly 1,000 participants, each casting wary glances at one another, their divine powers surging, creating an atmosphere thick with tension. Li Wei casually stood in a corner, seemingly out of place amidst the surrounding anxiety. Begin. With Elder Moon Wuhan's command, the 10 martial arts platforms erupted in a cacophony of thunderous sounds. The clash of divine powers, the manifestations of secret techniques, the sharp sounds of weapons striking, and the muffled groans and cries of the injured mingled together, plunging the scene into chaos. The 10th platform was no exception. Almost instantaneously, dozens of attacks converged towards Li Wei, who appeared isolated and possessed only the aura of an initial true god. To the other participants, eliminating the weaker opponent first was a common strategy in such a free-for-all. The myriad attributes of divine power radiated brilliantly, manifesting as searing fiery hands, unparalleled golden sword chi, colossal earthen boulders heavy as mountains, and enigmatic waves of soul shock. In the face of this overwhelming onslaught, Li Wei remained steadfast, not even adopting a defensive stance. He absorbed the mixed attributes of divine energy, fire, gold, and earth, analyzing and merging various laws into an optimized assault pattern, achieving a transformation efficiency of 9,996. He also absorbed low-intensity soul shocks, with his soul defense barrier filtering them automatically, ensuring a seamless absorption without damage. All attacks, upon nearing within 3 feet of his body, diminished in potency as if melting like snow, losing over 99% of their strength. The residual force was so negligible that it could not even stir the corners of his garments. This spectacle left the attackers in a state of stupefaction, unable to fathom what they had just witnessed. How could this be possible? What had he done? Was it some form of powerful defensive artifact? Before they could ponder further, Li Wei made his move. He did not employ any extravagant secret techniques. Instead, he simply lifted his foot and gently stepped forward. A tremendous, yet formless wave of temporal and spatial energy radiated outward from him. This was his self-created technique, the temporal domain. Although he had only unleashed a fraction of its power, it sufficed to subdue these contenders, who were merely in the mid to late stages of the void true god realm. In an instant, all contenders within a radius of several dozen feet around Li Wei felt as if they were ensnared in a quagmire. Their movements slowed tremendously, their divine energy sluggish, and even their thoughts seemed to lag. Li Wei flickered like a specter, each appearance accompanied by a simple yet direct punch, palm strike, or finger jab. The impacts resounded, bang, 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 bang. Those affected by the temporal domain were unable to react in time, struck by an irresistible gentle force, their bodies uncontrollably propelled backward, plummeting from the martial stage like dumplings. He exercised remarkable restraint, merely knocking them down without inflicting any serious injuries. Within mere moments, Li Wei had cleared the area around him, sending dozens of contenders tumbling out of the arena. For a brief moment, the entire 10th martial stage fell silent. All remaining contenders gazed at Li Wei with a mix of astonishment and trepidation, their eyes filled with disbelief. It dawned on them that this seemingly elementary void true god was, in fact, a wolf in sheep's clothing. His nonchalant command over time and space far surpassed that of an ordinary void true god. No one dared to engage Li Wei lightly anymore. With many actively avoiding his vicinity, Li Wei, reveling in the tranquility, stood with his hands clasped behind his back, an observer to the chaos unfolding in other regions of the stage. His consciousness quietly enveloped the entire arena, scrutinizing the situations on other martial platforms, particularly those contenders whose auras were markedly stronger, suspected to possess either an eternal true god background or extraordinary innate talent. Upon the elevated platform, Elder Yu Wuhan and several other attendants naturally noticed the peculiarities occurring on the 10th stage. Oh, the application of the laws of time and space is so exquisitely intricate. This youth's comprehension of the rules does not resemble that of a novice in the void true god realm, remarked one attendant with a hint of astonishment. Elder Yu's gaze fell upon Li Wei, and he nodded slightly. A solid foundation, pure divine power, and a precise control over strength. It appears he is a promising talent, perhaps a disciple of some reclusive elder sent out for training. He failed to discern Li Wei's true capabilities, merely assuming him to be a concealed genius. In the span of a mere incense stick, time swiftly passed. When the bell tolled, less than 100 remained on the 10th martial platform. Apart from the expanse surrounding Li Wei, which was entirely vacant, the other areas had witnessed fierce contention. With most survivors bearing injuries, panting heavily, their gazes toward Li Wei filled with complexity. Li Wei ascended to the next round without any suspense. The first round of chaotic combat concluded, with nearly 10,000 candidates now dwindled to under 1,000. Elder Yu Wuhan spoke once more. Those advancing may rest for 1 hour. Following that, we shall commence the second round, the comprehension of the Lawstone Forest. The Lawstone Forest is a significant site of inheritance within the Chiyue sect, housing numerous stone tablets left behind by predecessors, each encapsulating their insights into various laws. The second round of assessment requires candidates to enter the forest and engage in contemplation within a specified time, with their performance judged based on the profundity of their insights and the manifestations of the laws they evoke. For Li Wei, this undoubtedly represented another form of resource. The insights and law nuances contained within those stone tablets would greatly benefit his rapid understanding and adaptation to the law system of the origin continent. An hour later, nearly 1,000 advanced candidates, including Li Wei, were guided into a peculiar valley within the gates of the Chiyue sect. The valley was shrouded in mist, with stone tablets of various sizes and shapes standing amidst it, some smooth as mirrors, others adorned with enigmatic engravings, and some exhibiting naturally formed peculiar patterns. Each stone tablet emitted a unique oscillation of laws: gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, light, time and space, destruction, and a myriad of other types. Time limit, 3 hours. Begin. With the command issued, all candidates immediately dispersed, seeking stone tablets that resonated with their attributes or piqued their interest. They sat cross-legged, fully unleashing their consciousness in an attempt to communicate and comprehend the tablets. Li Wei, however, did not rush like the others. He strolled through the forest of tablets, activating his system in full, akin to a high-precision scanner, silently gliding past each stone tablet. Detected an advanced fire law tablet, left by an eternal true god, containing the essence of the heavenly incineration realm, beginning analysis and recording. Detected an earth defense law tablet, peak of the void true god, containing the essence of the unmoving mountain principle, beginning analysis and recording. Detected a special wind thunder law tablet, incomplete, embodying dual characteristics of speed and destruction, beginning analysis and recording. The system operates with remarkable efficiency, absorbing the esoteric information and profound principles contained within each stone tablet, as if it were a sponge soaking up water. It records these insights and juxtaposes them with its own understanding of the laws, merging and optimizing them. His comprehension of the laws, particularly those unique to the origin continent, is deepening and expanding at an astonishing pace. He does not linger before any single stone tablet to ponder its meanings, for the system has already extracted the most essential information. To an outsider, he appears to be aimlessly wandering, seemingly devoid of any substantial gain. On the high platform, Moon Wuhan and others, observing the situation within the stone forest through the water mirror technique, once again cast their gaze upon the oddly behaving Li Wei. What is this young man doing? Why does he not focus on his insights? One attendant questioned, perplexed. Moon Wuhan scrutinized Li Wei's figure in the water mirror, a flicker of confusion passing through his eyes, yet he soon sensed something amiss, murmuring softly, "No, there seems to be an exceedingly subtle fluctuation around him, resonating faintly with all the stone tablets. Is he simultaneously comprehending all the tablets? How is that possible?" Just as Moon Wuhan was engulfed in uncertainty, Li Wei halted before a completely black stone tablet, its surface riddled with twisted cracks, as if it might shatter at any moment. The law fluctuations emanating from this tablet were exceedingly faint, almost completely overshadowed by the brilliance of the other tablets. Had it not been for a special alert from the system, he might well have overlooked it. Warning: high-priority unknown law fluctuations detected, suspected to involve causality and fate. Possessing extremely high energy levels, yet severely incomplete, with great difficulty in analysis. Would you like to concentrate computational power for a deep analysis? Causality? Fate? A glimmer of insight sparked in Li Wei's eyes. This marked his first encounter with such a high-level domain of laws in the origin continent. Concentrate computational power, deep analysis. He stood before the dilapidated black stone tablet, appearing to meditate with closed eyes, while in reality, the system was operating at full capacity, striving to interpret the nearly obliterated ancient principles embedded within the tablet. As the 3-hour limit approached its conclusion, Chapter 108, the disturbance of the remnant tablet startles all. A glimpse into causality enters the sect. Within the sea of consciousness, the system was operating with unprecedented efficiency, the chaotic hues of light fluctuating violently, as countless intricate runes of laws, far beyond the current understanding of the cosmic sea, flickered in the luminous orb. tirelessly analyzing the faint principles drawn from the broken black stone tablet. Analysis in progress, detecting a highly incomplete model of entangled causal lines. Fragmented pieces of fate trajectories discovered, attempting reconstruction, energy insufficient. Warning, target information deeply exceeds current system permissions. Unauthorized analysis will significantly deplete the host's cosmic essence and may trigger unforeseen backlash. Proceed? Proceed. Prioritize the recording of information structure. Refrain from deep extrapolation for now. Li Wei decisively commanded. He did not need to fully comprehend it immediately. He only needed to record this data concerning causality and fate as seeds to be stored in the database, awaiting future elevation of his realm and unlocking of system permissions for further study. The consumption of the primordial source remains within an acceptable range, as his miniature universe possesses profound depth sufficient to sustain it. With the continuous infusion of primordial energy, the system's analysis of the crumbling steel progresses with great difficulty. The distorted cracks on the surface of the stone, in Li Wei's perception, seem to transform into fragmented, entangled, and chaotic threads, which do not belong to matter or energy, yet subtly tug at something deeper. A vague essence, concerning the cycles of emergence and extinction, as well as fated variables, begins to manifest in his heart, though exceedingly nebulous. It opens a portal to an entirely new realm. Meanwhile, from an external perspective, the long-dormant, nearly forgotten dilapidated steel has begun to tremble slightly. Within the twisted cracks of its surface, an almost transparent ethereal glow flickers momentarily, accompanied by an indescribable, peculiar vibration that seems capable of resonating with the deepest chords of the human soul, emanating from the steel and subtly expanding outward. Although this vibration is faint, those present are cultivators attuned to the laws of nature, particularly the few eternal true gods upon the platform, whose perceptions are remarkably keen. Elder Yu Wuhan suddenly rises, his gaze sharp as lightning, instantly locking onto the area of the 10th steel grove, focusing on the trembling relic and the meditative figure of Li Wei before it. It is the fateful steel. This young man can actually invoke it? The nearby attendants display expressions of astonishment. The fateful steel? Is it not the stone left by the mad ancestor who dared to touch the laws of destiny, ultimately meeting a tragic end? For countless years, no one has managed to elicit even the slightest response from it, and it has long been deemed utterly abandoned. How has this young man achieved such a feat? The subtle vibration emanating from him seems to be forcefully interpreting the steel's inscription. Does he not fear backlash? Yu Wuhan's eyes flicker, his thoughts racing. To stir the fateful steel, even if only the faintest reaction, indicates that this young man possesses something extraordinary, whether it be a unique soul trait, the mastery of some unknown secret technique, or the possession of a precious treasure. Regardless of the case, he deserves close scrutiny. The other participants in the steel grove also sense the unusual vibrations, awakening from their contemplative states, casting uncertain glances towards Li Wei and the trembling steel. Lin Feng is among them. He gazes at Li Wei's silhouette, his admiration deepening, feeling that this senior, Li, is increasingly unfathomable. The 3-hour time limit has finally arrived. A gentle force from the formation sweeps through the entire steel grove, rousing all participants from their meditative states. Li Wei timely severs his deep connection with the system, halting the flow of primordial energy, and opens his eyes. At the moment he does, it seems as though countless fine, invisible threads flicker in the depths of his gaze, remnants of his initial contact with the laws of causality and destiny, which then swiftly vanish. The fateful steel ceases its trembling, returning to an eerie stillness, as if all that transpired was merely an illusion. Yet, those upon the platform, including Yu Wuhan, are well aware that it was no mere figment of the imagination. The officials responsible for the assessment begin to inspect the insights of each participant one by one. The method is quite straightforward. Candidates are required to infuse their consciousness into a specially crafted measurement orb, through which the intensity and characteristics of the invoked laws are assessed to determine the depth of their comprehension. Most candidates evoke monochromatic lights of varying brightness, reflecting their understanding of a particular set of laws. A select few prodigies manage to summon dual or even tricolored lights, eliciting waves of astonishment. When it was Li Wei's turn, he calmly placed his hand upon the measurement orb. He deliberately modulated his output, refraining from revealing the entirety of his insights, particularly in relation to the recently grazed domain of causality. However, as his consciousness infused into the orb, it erupted with a dazzling silver radiance imbued with the fluctuations of time and space, its intensity far exceeding that of the ordinary void true gods. Subsequently, within the silver light, a sequence of 8 fundamental laws, gold, green, blue, red, yellow, cyan, purple, and black, destruction, along with the auras of special laws such as wind and thunder, flickered. Although none shone as brightly as the law of time and space, their variety and harmonious interplay rendered the display both profound and enchanting. The orb's multicolored brilliance, while resplendent, coalesced into a singular entity, leaving the supervising attendant utterly astonished. Complete attribute affinity? And such profound insight into the law of time and space. The attendant exclaimed in disbelief. The audience erupted in an uproar. While complete attribute affinity was not unheard of, it typically indicated a breadth of knowledge lacking in depth. Yet, Li Wei's mastery of the law of time and space was evidently a hallmark of precision, with his understanding of the other attribute laws reaching remarkably high levels, an astounding revelation. This indicated his exceptional aptitude. Elder Yu Wuhan's eyes shimmered with unprecedented brilliance, and he had already earmarked Li Wei as the most crucial target for this selection. This child shall undoubtedly belong to our Qiyue sect. The final outcome was beyond doubt, as Li Wei, with his outstanding performance, successfully advanced to the next round alongside over 90 other remarkable candidates, earning his place as an outer disciple of the Qiyue sect. Lin Feng, through sheer tenacity and commendable insight, also managed to squeeze into the final ranks, overwhelmed with excitement. Upon the conclusion of the selection, the newly initiated disciples received the moon-white tokens symbolizing their status as outer disciples, standardized robes. A foundational volume of the Qiyue heart method, which could be cultivated to the peak of the void true God level, and a modest allocation of initial contribution points. The attendant in charge outlined the sect rules and important considerations. As you embark upon your journey in the sect, you must diligently remember the regulations and commit to your cultivation. Each month, you are required to complete certain sect tasks to earn contribution points, which can be exchanged in the Scripture Pavilion for techniques and secrets, in the Herb Hall for elixirs, and in the Divine Weapon Pavilion for weapons. Your accommodations have been assigned according to your tokens. Proceed there at your convenience. Li Wei was assigned to a relatively secluded courtyard on the periphery of the outer disciples area. Although modest, the environment was tranquil, and the concentration of primal energy far surpassed that of ordinary regions in Qishan City, making it quite suitable for quiet cultivation. After settling into the courtyard and activating the protective formation, Li Wei did not rush to practice the Qiyue heart method but instead immersed himself once more in his thoughts, connecting to the system. This time, a thorough analysis of the fragmented fate and calamity monument consumed a small amount of cosmic essence. Successfully recording the foundational entangled model of causality, fragmented, fate trajectory fragments, indecipherable, and other information, now stored in the advanced database. The host has made initial contact and recorded information regarding causality and destiny, leading to an enhancement in the system's permission unlocking progress. A new special energy unit, known as the causality point, has been introduced, though it cannot currently be actively acquired or utilized. Observing the feedback from the system, Li Wei understood that engaging with higher-level forces is indeed one of the keys to enhancing the system's permissions. While he cannot yet utilize the causality point, it at least indicates a promising direction. The Qiyue sect may provide ample opportunities to encounter higher-order laws and secrets. Li Wei gazed out the window at the mist-shrouded peaks in the distance, which pointed towards the inner and core regions of the Qiyue sect. His next step would be to leverage the sect's resources to stabilize and elevate his overt strength to the pinnacle of the void true God realm, while simultaneously utilizing the system to discreetly analyze the various legacies within the sect, seeking further opportunities to engage with high-level laws, particularly those related to causality and destiny. He picked up the token of an outer disciple, probing it with his consciousness. Aside from personal information and contribution points, initially 100 points, there was a continuously rolling list of tasks. Care for the low-level medicinal fields in the Firecloud Valley for 10 days. Reward, 5 contribution points. Assist in mining the Qingming or vein for 1 month. Reward, 30 contribution points. Eliminate the ferocious beasts causing chaos in the Haifeng Gorge. Located 3,000 miles southeast of Qishan City, requires the strength of a void true God. Reward, 80 contribution points. Explore the depths of the lava mountains, where a suspected ancient cultivator's cave has been discovered. Dangerous. Team formation recommended. Reward, 200 to 500 contribution points, depending on exploration results. Li Wei's gaze lingered on the tasks related to the lava mountains and Haifeng Gorge. These locations posed little danger to him and were instead excellent for acquiring resources, both contribution points and physical items, and testing the system's adaptability to diverse environments. It seemed that his tenure as an outer disciple would not be dull. He decided that after a brief rest, he would undertake the task of eliminating the ferocious beasts in Haifeng Gorge, thereby initiating his journey of accumulation within the Qiyue sect. Chapter 109. Testing new abilities in Haifeng Gorge, traces of causality emerge. In the task hall of the outer sect of Qiyue, Li Wei paid 10 contribution points as a deposit to accept the task of eliminating the ferocious beasts in Haifeng Gorge. The task information revealed that Haifeng Gorge is a deep canyon approximately 3,000 miles southeast of Qishan City, where numerous merchant caravans and low-level cultivators have recently been ambushed. According to survivors' descriptions and residual traces, the culprits are a pack of ferocious beasts known as bone-eroding wind wolves, with their leader possibly reaching the mid-stage of the void true God realm, capable of manipulating a chilling, bone-eroding black wind, making them quite formidable. For an ordinary outer disciple at the initial or mid-stage of the void true God realm, this task carries considerable risk and often necessitates teamwork. However, Li Wei approached to undertake it alone, which prompted the attendant responsible for task registration to regard him with increased scrutiny and offer a caution. The bone-eroding wind wolves typically appear in packs, and their wind poison is highly corrosive to the divine body. If he ventures alone, he must exercise utmost caution. Li Wei nodded in acknowledgement, expressing his gratitude without further words, before turning and departing from the task hall. Upon exiting the gates of the Chiyu sect, he discerned his direction and transformed into a fleeting wisp of light, gliding towards the southeast. He did not exert his full temporal and spatial abilities. Rather, he flew at a speed slightly exceeding that of an ordinary void true god, while the system continuously operated, absorbing and analyzing the environmental information and the characteristics of the source energy along his path. In but a brief moment, a vast canyon, shrouded in a gray-black mist, appeared before him, flanked by steep cliffs that plunged into unfathomable depths. Even from a distance, he could hear the mournful winds emanating from within the canyon, their shrill and piercing nature imbued with a chilling essence that seemed to penetrate the very marrow of his bones. Here lay the Black Wind Gorge. Li Wei plunged directly into the gorge, an invisible force field automatically enveloping him, repelling the encroaching cold winds. Simultaneously, the system chimed, absorbing negative energy from the bone-corroding winds, analyzing energy composition, containing the subtle laws of wind's aberrant characteristics, optimizing the body's resistance to negative energy, conversion efficiency 99. 98. He resembled a walking purifier. And wherever he passed, even the mournful winds seemed to diminish in intensity. Delving a few miles into the Black Wind Gorge, dozens of ghostly green lights abruptly flickered in the gray mist, accompanied by the low howls of wolves. Swift as phantoms, shadows darted forth from the fog, the bone-corroding wind wolves. These wolves, the size of calves and cloaked in gray-black fur, blended seamlessly with their surroundings, their fangs and claws glinting ominously as they unleashed foul-smelling black wind blades that surged towards Li Wei from all directions. Absorbing the collective attack of bone-corroding wind wolves, physical biting energy corrosion, analyzing the coordinated attack patterns of the pack, recording samples of bone-corroding wind energy, conversion in progress. Li Wei remained steadfast, allowing the wind blades to strike him. The assaults, which would have flustered a cultivator of equal rank, diminished significantly as they approached him, failing to breach even his invisible force field. With a gesture of his fingers akin to a sword, he casually released several refined temporal and spatial sword chi. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sword chi sliced through the air, precisely severing the necks of the oncoming wind wolves. These creatures, generally at the peak of true god rank, with only a few at the initial stage of the void true god, were unable to react in time, their souls swiftly extinguished by the sharp sword chi, their massive bodies crashing to the ground. However, the pack was numerous and fiercely aggressive, continuing their relentless advance. With a subtle shift in thought, Li Wei refrained from deploying more potent offensive techniques, and instead confined the scope of his temporal and spatial domain, enveloping an area of several dozen meters around himself. Instantly, the wind wolves that entered this range found their movements severely hampered, as if ensnared in a quagmire. Li Wei, composed and unhurried, extended his hand to press against the heads of the slowed wolves, initiating active contact with the target, commencing deep analysis, extracting the essence of life, fragments of soul memory, and the structural origins of the bone-corroding wind's innate abilities. The system operated with remarkable efficiency, absorbing not only the attacking energy, but also directly extracting the core essence and innate information from these ferocious beasts. This is an experimental operation conducted by him based on the newly activated demand response module of the system, aimed at gaining a deeper understanding of the composition of the indigenous beings on the origin continent, as well as the profound mysteries contained within their innate powers. One by one, the wind wolves quickly withered under Li Wei's command, their life essence and fragments of law being thoroughly plundered. His comprehension of the bone-corroding dark wind, a mutated wind-based principle, deepened accordingly. Just as he cleared approximately one-third of the wolf pack, an exceptionally resonant howl, infused with rage and a chilling murderous intent, echoed from the depths of the gorge. Following this, a colossal wolf, towering several meters high, with fur as dark as silk and eyes as crimson as blood, emerged, commanding a fierce black tempest as it lunged forward. This was the Wolf King, whose aura unmistakably reached the pinnacle of the mid-stage void true god. The Wolf King, possessing considerable intelligence, recognized Li Wei as a formidable opponent and immediately deployed its innate abilities. Opening its massive jaws, it unleashed not scattered wind blades, but a concentrated, nearly tangible black wind column. Wherever the wind column passed, space itself emitted a hissing sound as if being corroded, its power far surpassing all previous attacks. High-intensity mixed attack detected, physical impact, deep energy erosion, weak soul toxin. Analyzing the origin of the bone-corroding dark wind application, absorption in progress, transformation efficiency 9995, slight enhancement of divine body resistance. The black wind column struck Li Wei, most of its power instantly absorbed and transformed by the system, leaving the residual force incapable of even shaking him. A flicker of anthropomorphic astonishment flashed in the Wolf King's eyes, clearly unprepared for the ineffectiveness of its full-force strike. Li Wei wasted no time. With a swift movement, he appeared above the Wolf King, seemingly disregarding spatial distance, and pressed down with his palm. Time-space confinement. The immense body of the Wolf King instantly stiffened, its eyes filled with terror. Li Wei's hand pressed upon its skull, activating the system to its fullest extent. Deeply analyzing the target, extracting the life essence of a void true, god-level ferocious beast, analyzing the structure of the Dark Wind core, stripping the innate ability runes, recording the soul memories. The Wolf King emitted a wretched howl as its body visibly withered, the purest source of power within it. Along with its core comprehension of the dark erosion principle, entirely seized by Li Wei. Within a few breaths, the Wolf King lost all vitality, collapsing into a withered skeleton encased in wolf skin. With the leader vanquished, the remaining bone-corroding wind wolves instantly lost their fighting spirit, howling as they scattered into the depths of the gorge. Li Wei did not pursue them, for his objective had been accomplished. He collected valuable materials from the Wolf King and several elite wind wolves, such as wolf fangs, claws, and a pigeon egg-sized dark wind core condensed within the Wolf King, which could be submitted for tasks or exchanged for contribution points. Just as he prepared to depart, his gaze inadvertently swept across a section of rock wall near the Wolf King's lair. There lingered some unnatural engravings, seemingly remnants of a rudimentary concealment array long rendered ineffective. Without his acute sensitivity to time-space and energy fluctuations, it would have been nearly imperceptible. He approached, carefully probing with his consciousness. The formation had long since lost its energy. Yet its construction method differed subtly from the mainstream styles of formations he had acquired from the memories of the Black Zeal sect practitioners and the knowledge gleaned in Qishan City. Exuding an air of sinister enigma, the system began to analyze the residual energy traces and the formation structure in this place, attempting to trace its origin. Command confirmed. Analyzing residual energy, matching database. Similarity of energy characteristics to low-ranking members of the Shadow Kill organization, 678. Analyzing formation structure, inclined towards concealment, vigilance, and unidirectional information transmission functions. Construction method aligns with known patterns of Shadow Kill, 723. Preliminary judgment. Low-ranking members of Shadow Kill had briefly resided here. Shadow Kill? Li Wei recalled the rumors he had heard upon entering Qishan City, concerning several small families that had been exterminated, allegedly by this organization named Shadow Kill. He was astonished to unexpectedly discover their traces in the Black Wind Gorge. A thought struck him. He attempted to harness the extremely faint causal line perception ability that the system had just recorded. Concentrating his mind, he sought to capture more subtle clues related to the residual traces of the formation and the nearly imperceptible energy remnants. In an instant, his vision seemed to transform. The material world's scenery blurred slightly, and upon the residual traces, he perceived several extremely thin, almost transparent threads, as if they might snap at any moment, winding deeper into the more remote reaches of the Black Wind Gorge. One of these threads appeared to point towards Qishan City. Is this the causal line? Although exceedingly faint and incapable of determining its exact target, it indeed pointed in a clear direction. Truly useful. A flicker of realization crossed Li Wei's eyes. The causal model recorded by the system, combined with his profound spiritual awareness and the essence of his soul, had indeed allowed him to preliminarily observe the causal traces associated with real-world events. He refrained from immediately pursuing the traces. The Shadow Kill organization was shrouded in mystery, capable of operating under the very nose of the Qiyue sect, and undoubtedly had its own means of support. Although his strength was considerable, rashly delving into unknown perilous territory was not a prudent course of action. Moreover, the causal line pointing towards Qishan City might hold even greater value. He decided to complete the task and return to the sect. The matters concerning Shadow Kill could be investigated gradually. Perhaps within them lay opportunities to swiftly acquire resources or make contact with hidden secrets. Li Wei noted the general direction indicated by the causal line and, without further delay, departed from the Black Wind Gorge with the task items in hand. This mission not only tested the system's response to group attacks and special energy erosion, yielding task rewards and materials, but also unexpectedly revealed traces of Shadow Kill and preliminarily validated the practicality of causal perception, making it a fruitful endeavor. He transformed into a streak of light, heading back towards Qiyue sect, his mind already devising ways to leverage this newfound ability to procure greater benefits for himself within Qishan City and Qiyue sect. Chapter 110. In the Hall of Contributions. The hidden brilliance stirs, the dark causal lines beckon the serpent to move. Upon returning to the outer hall of Qiyue sect, Li Wei submitted the Yin Erosion Wind Core, representing the identity of the Bone Erosion Wind Wolf King, as well as several elite Wind Wolf fangs. The steward responsible for verifying the tasks examined the crystal core imbued with pure cold wind energy, then glanced at Li Wei, whose demeanor was composed and attire immaculate, resembling someone who had merely taken a leisurely outing. The astonishment in his eyes was hard to conceal. Li Wei from the Gue character courtyard had independently accomplished the task of eradicating the ferocious beasts of the Black Wind Gorge, successfully slaying a mid-stage void true god, the bone-eating Wind Wolf King, along with several of its kin. The task was rated as Class A, with a reward of 100 contribution points. The steward announced this loudly, crediting the contribution points to Li Wei's identity token. Nearby outer sect disciples, engaged in task exchanges or perusing the task list, cast astonished and curious glances in his direction. Completing such a task independently and receiving a Class A rating marked him as an exceptional figure among the outer sect disciples. Many began to scrutinize Li Wei discreetly, speculating about his background. Li Wei paid no heed to the gazes around him. After collecting his contribution points, he proceeded directly to the contribution hall, situated in the side chamber of the main hall. This was the venue for exchanging contribution points for cultivation resources. The contribution hall was bustling with activity, its walls adorned with vast luminous screens displaying the list of redeemable items alongside their required contribution points. Chiyu Heart Technique Continuation, Eternal True God Chapter. Required contribution points, 50,000. Permission, Inner Sect Disciple. Standard Void Grade Battle Blade. Required contribution points, 300. Source Condensation Pill, Aiding in Void True God Cultivation. 1 vial, 10 pills. Required contribution points, 50. Basic Array Techniques Detailed, Advanced Edition. Required contribution points, 200. 1 day of training in the Illusory Heart Tower. Required contribution points, 100. An array of items dazzled the eye, ranging from mystical techniques and weaponry to elixirs and runes, as well as qualifications for entry into specialized training grounds. Yet the prices were exceedingly steep. The 100 contribution points Li Wei earned from completing a Class A task appeared rather meager in this context. He bypassed the techniques and weaponry, focusing instead on elixirs, special training qualifications, and some esoteric tomes. He was not in need of techniques or combat methods. Rather, he sought conventional resources to rapidly accumulate divine power and elevate his realm, as well as avenues to deepen his understanding of the myriad knowledge of the origin continent, particularly high-level information. Ultimately, he expended 50 contribution points to acquire a vial of Source Condensation Pill and another 30 points for a jade slip containing the Atlas of Peculiar Minerals from the Origin Continent, Volume 1. He decided to reserve the remaining 20 contribution points for future use. The vial of Source Condensation Pill was not intended for his personal consumption. Instead, he planned to submit it to the system for analysis of its composition and medicinal properties, in hopes of eventually attempting to replicate or refine it. As for the Mineral Atlas, it aimed to enrich his database, facilitating future searches for unique resources. Having accomplished all this, Li Wei did not return to his small courtyard, but rather meandered casually through the streets of Qishan City. His objective was the faint causal thread extending from the vicinity of the Black Wind Gorge Wolf King's lair, directing toward Qishan City. He concealed all his energies, presenting himself as an ordinary low-tier cultivator, strolling amidst the bustling thoroughfare. Simultaneously, he concentrated his mind, carefully maintaining his nascent causal perception within his line of sight. The nearly translucent thread of causality extending from the direction of the Black Wind Gorge grew increasingly indistinct and intermittent upon entering the city of Qishan, as if it might dissolve amidst the overwhelming aura of humanity and the intricate web of causation at any moment. The toll this perception took on his mind was substantial. Had it not been for the inherent strength of his soul and the assistance of a system supporting the stabilization of this unique state of awareness, he would have likely succumbed to its strain. Following the elusive guidance of that thread, he traversed several bustling streets, ultimately arriving at a relatively quiet area, dominated by small and medium-sized shops and inns. In front of a modest establishment named Mokshuanzhai, which primarily dealt in low-grade talismans and blank jade slips. The traces of the causality thread became slightly clearer, yet remained too faint to pinpoint a specific target. Li Wei refrained from entering impulsively. Instead, he settled into a window seat on the second floor of a nearby tea house, ordering a pot of clear tea. While appearing to take a break, his consciousness functioned like the most delicate radar, quietly enveloping Mokshuanzhai and its surrounding vicinity. The flow of patrons in and out of the shop was sparse, and the shopkeeper, a thin old man who seemed to possess only late-stage true divine cultivation, maintained a humble demeanor, exhibiting no peculiarities. The energy fluctuations within the shop were also quite ordinary, consisting merely of the spiritual energy from low-tier talismans and materials. However, within Li Wei's perception of causality, it appeared that a faint node existed deep within the shop, subtly connected to the causality thread leading here. This node was obscured by some force. Had he not been sensing the causality layer, he would have been unable to detect it through mere mental scanning. Was this a contact point for the Shadow Kill organization, or perhaps a hiding place for a member? Li Wei pondered. He had no intention of startling the snake in its den. Such an organization as Shadow Kill must possess a tightly woven structure. Removing a mere contact point or low-tier member would bear little significance and might even alert their superiors. His objective was to utilize this thread to uncover more valuable targets or gain insight into their movements, seeking potential opportunities for profit. As he observed quietly, the system delivered a new prompt. Detected that the host is maintaining a basic state of causality perception, deepening understanding of the causality thread model. In conjunction with the demand-response module, a low-consumption causality deduction can be attempted, using the known causality node as a base. Expend energy to deduce the events most closely associated with it that may occur in the short term. Would you like to proceed? Causality deduction? Li Wei felt a surge of excitement within. This was indeed an unexpected boon. Although it merely projected event tendencies rather than specific outcomes, and its energy consumption remained uncertain, it might provide critical direction given the limited clues available. Using the concealed node within Mokshuanzhai as a foundation, he aimed to deduce the events most intimately connected to it that could unfold in the near future, controlling energy expenditure to remain within 1,000th of the essence of a small universe. Command confirmed, commencing causality deduction, consuming small universe essence 008. The system's luminous sphere flickered slightly, with countless subtle causality runes circulating and combining. After a brief moment, a vague and uncertain piece of information was returned. Inferred results, tendencies transaction, nightfall. Abandoned mine pit in the west of the city, disquiet, surveillance. A transaction? Nightfall. The abandoned mine pit in the western part of the city? A glimmer of understanding crossed Li Wei's eyes. Although the inference was somewhat vague, when combined with the known information, the direction was relatively clear. The Shadow Killers were likely to engage in some sort of transaction at an abandoned mine pit in the western area during the night, and they themselves seemed to be in a state of unease or surveillance. Intriguing, a subtle smile curled at the corners of Li Wei's mouth. The mantis stalks the cicada, while the yellow bird lies in wait. Perhaps he could play the role of that yellow bird. He did not linger any longer, settling the T-bill before rising to depart. He needed to scout the area in the west, familiarize himself with the terrain, and prepare for a potential opportunistic action. Not long after Li Wei left the tea house, within the Mo Xianzhai, the frail old shopkeeper appeared to be engrossed in wiping the counter. Yet his fingertips discreetly tapped a concealed groove beneath the counter, sending a subtle wave deep into the recesses of the shop. The waters of Qishan City ran deeper than they seemed. With the nascent ability to glimpse the threads of causality, Li Wei had quietly submerged his hand into this deep water, ready to stir the winds and clouds. His ambitions extended beyond merely completing tasks and earning contribution points. He sought to seize every opportunity to accelerate his growth and unearth the deeper secrets of the system in this world. Chapter 111. The Secrets of the Nightfall Mine Pit. The yellow bird lies in wait for game, over 100 miles west of the city, amidst desolate mountains. The abandoned Xian iron mine pit resembled an ugly scar upon the earth, unfathomably deep, exuding an air of desolation and death. The mineral veins had long been exhausted, and even wild beasts rarely ventured here, making it an ideal location for clandestine transactions. As night fell, a thick darkness enveloped the mine pit, with only sporadic moonlight filtering through the thin clouds, casting a faint and dismal glow. Li Wei's figure emerged like a specter, silently appearing beneath the shadow of a protruding boulder at the pit's edge. His presence blended seamlessly with the surrounding environment, even causing a slight distortion in time and space to minimize his trace. The system operated at full capacity, not only maintaining his concealed state, but also amplifying his senses to the utmost, capturing any unusual energy fluctuations and causal connections in the air. He refrained from utilizing his causal perception for direct investigation, as that would easily alert the unsuspecting. Instead, he relied on the previously inferred keywords of Nightfall, the abandoned mine pit in the west, and his formidable ability to conceal himself in time and space, patiently waiting for an opportunity. Time passed slowly. Aside from the occasional rust-laden cold wind that swept through the depths of the mine, there was nothing else. As the hour approached midnight, several shadowy figures began to converge from different directions, eerily merging into the darkness at the bottom of the mine. They moved with almost no sound, their breaths well contained. Had it not been for Li Wei's prior preparations and his heightened perception beyond that of his peers, they would have been nearly undetectable. They have arrived. Li Wei's spirit surged, his gaze penetrating the darkness, locking onto the figures below. 5 figures approached, all clad in garments suited for nocturnal endeavors, their faces obscured, clearly employing adept techniques of concealment. Among them, 3 stood together, exuding a chilling and cohesive aura, unmistakably representatives of the Shadow Killers. The other 2 maintained a slight distance, their presence marked by a tumultuous energy, hinting at their role as the opposing party in the transaction. "Have you brought the goods?" inquired the leader of the Shadow Killers, his voice a gravelly whisper, akin to the sound of metal scraping against metal. One of the individuals across from him responded in a low, resonant tone. "We seek the soul-devouring grass and the Millennium Earth Heart Milk." Verification, the Shadow Killer leader stated succinctly. Both parties retrieved storage bags, exchanging them with utmost caution. The Shadow Killers produced a jade vial and a wooden box adorned with talismans, while their counterparts revealed an unassuming, dark purple irregular crystal no larger than a fist. Just as the exchange was completed and both sides began to inspect their items, an unexpected upheaval occurred. Attack! A thunderous command echoed not from either party involved in the transaction, but from a different direction above the mine. Suddenly, a surge of formidable energy erupted, accompanied by fierce sword light, blazing fireballs, and massive earth-toned hands, descending upon the 5 individuals like a net from the heavens. It became apparent that there were 6 ambushers, 2 of whom possessed the formidable strength of late-stage void true gods. The enforcement team of the Chiyu sect? The Shadow Killer leader's expression shifted to one of shock and fury, clearly caught off guard by the exposure of their location. This is not the enforcement team. It is a case of black on black. The 2 members of the opposing party were equally stunned and enraged, hastily summoning defensive artifacts to shield themselves. In an instant, The mine's depths erupted with divine energy, resounding with deafening roars as a myriad of colors illuminated the darkness. The assailants, adequately prepared and wielding superior strength, quickly gained the upper hand. Although the three from the Shadow Killers were adept in stealth and ambush, they faltered in direct confrontation, with one sustaining severe injuries almost immediately. The two from the opposing side were in a precarious situation. Li Wei observed from the shadows, akin to a detached spectator. System prompts flashed swiftly in his consciousness, recording high-intensity energy collision data, analyzing various combat application models, optimizing battle frameworks. Detecting unknown soul attack fluctuations originating from the Shadow Killers, commencing analysis and recording. Detecting special Earth-type defensive secret arts originating from the opposing party, commencing analysis and recording. He showed no inclination to intervene. Both the Shadow Killers and the Black Market faction were far from virtuous, akin to dogs fighting amongst themselves, providing him with an excellent opportunity to gather data. The battle soon tilted overwhelmingly in favor of the assailants. One more from the Shadow Killers fell victim to the slicing sword light, leaving only their leader, who struggled to withstand the onslaught through his peculiar agility. One from the opposing party was severely injured by a fireball, while the other was struck against a rock wall by a massive earth-colored hand, their fate uncertain. The leader of the Black Market group, a burly man with a scarred face and the prowess of a late-stage void true god, approached the remaining Shadow Killer leader and the traitor clutching the dark purple crystal, grinning menacingly. "Hand over your goods, and I shall grant you a swift end." At this critical juncture, a fierce glint flashed in the eyes of the gravely injured traitor, who suddenly smashed the dark purple crystal in his hand onto the ground. No one could anticipate what would follow. With a resounding crash, the crystal shattered, unleashing a peculiar wave of spatial disturbance that radiated outward like ripples on water, rather than a conventional explosion of energy. This wave was not particularly forceful, yet it possessed a disorienting and chaotic nature. Warning: high-intensity spatial turbulence detected. Nature unknown. Contains fragments of obscure void laws. The system urgently alerted. The members of the Black Market gang were momentarily halted by this abrupt spatial fluctuation, creating a slight opening in their surrounding formation. Now was the moment. A spark of brilliance ignited in Li Wei's eyes. He had been waiting for this chaotic opportunity. Eternal moment. Without hesitation, he invoked his innate secret technique. The power of absolute control over time and space enveloped him, instantly encompassing the core area of the mine. The range was limited, precisely covering the battlefield's focal point, and time itself came to a standstill for 0.1 seconds. For those engaged in the fierce battle, disrupted by the spatial turbulence, this brief cessation was an imperceptible fracture in reality. In that fleeting instant, Li Wei moved. His figure seemed to meld with the frozen time and space. With a single step, he appeared at the bottom of the mine. He disregarded the cultivators suspended in midair, their faces frozen in expressions of shock or sinister glee, and his gaze fell directly upon the two most crucial items: the storage bag containing the soul erosion grass and the Millennium Earth Core milk, just acquired by the Shadow Kill leader, and the core crystal that had rolled out from the shattered crystal's center, a tiny gem radiating a deeper, purer purple light. He extended his hand, and both items were drawn into his sleeve as if pulled by an invisible force. Simultaneously, the system worked tirelessly to absorb the peculiar fragments of law contained within the still simmering spatial turbulence. Having accomplished this, the 0.1 seconds elapsed. Li Wei's figure vanished as though he had never been there, reabsorbed into the shadows above the mine. Time resumed its flow. The scarred brute of the Black Market gang merely blinked, finding that the Shadow Kill leader and the traitor remained in their previous stances. Yet the crucial items they had possessed were now mysteriously absent. Where are the items? The scarred man was both alarmed and furious. The Shadow Kill leader and the traitor were equally stunned. They had just held the objects. How could they have vanished in an instant? It was spatial manipulation. Someone of great skill has intervened. The Shadow Kill leader reacted swiftly, his gaze darting around in terror. At that moment, the residual spatial turbulence, which Li Wei had absorbed much of, erupted violently. Though its power had diminished, it still generated a ring of distorted spatial ripples that sent the individuals at the bottom of the pit tumbling in disarray. Seizing this final moment of chaos, the wounded Shadow Kill leader and the traitor summoned their remaining strength to flee in opposite directions within the mine. Pursue. Do not let them escape. The scarred brute, furious and seething with rage, barely had time to ponder the mysterious disappearance of their possessions, as he dispatched his underlings to pursue the fleeing figures. In an instant, the depths of the abandoned mine were left with nothing but a handful of corpses and the remnants of battle. Li Wei remained concealed in the shadows, refusing to depart. He meticulously sensed the now clearer threads of causality connecting the Shadow Fiend leader and the traitor, their frantic escape causing the lines to vibrate violently, indicating divergent paths. System. Mark these two threads of causality and initiate a low-consumption tracking of their general whereabouts and status changes, he commanded. Command confirmed. Target causality lines marked. Low-consumption tracking mode activated. Having completed this task, Li Wei vanished like a true specter, silently departing from the now eerily silent mine. Upon returning to the outer courtyard of the Chiusa sect and disabling all restrictions, he revealed the spoils of his endeavor. Within the storage bag lay 10 strands of peculiar black grass, soul-eroding grass, exuding an enigmatic spiritual resonance, alongside a small vial of milky liquid, rich with life force and earthy essence, millennia-old earth heart milk. Both treasures were of considerable value. The soul-eroding grass could be employed in the cultivation of soul secret arts or the concoction of poison pills, while the earth heart milk was a superior remedy for injuries and the refinement of the divine body. What piqued Li Wei's interest even further was the deep purple core crystal, no larger than a fingernail, obtained from the shattered crystal. Cradling it in his palm, the system immediately responded with fervent intensity. High concentration and purity of void crystal core fragments detected. Contains pure void Tao fundamental source law information, along with faint spatial teleportation and dimensional folding rule imprints. Extremely valuable. Can enhance the host's understanding of spatial law essence, optimize the time-space forbidden domain, or serve as a core material for crafting spatial treasures. Absorbing the energy and law information of this item will accelerate the adaptation progress of spatial law origin on the continent, potentially reaching a 100 completion, with a chance to comprehend new spatial talent secret arts or enhance the effect of eternal instance. Li Wei's eyes sparkled with satisfaction at the mention of the void crystal. This time, the hunter had become the hunted, with rewards far exceeding expectations. Not only had he acquired practical resources, but he had also obtained a treasure capable of directly enhancing his comprehension of spatial laws. The Void Tao fundamental source information contained within would greatly benefit his future endeavors in unraveling higher-level spatial mysteries. He first analyzed the components and effects of the soul-eroding grass and earth heart milk, storing the data in his database. Then, he focused all his energy on absorbing and deciphering the void crystal. Li Wei issued the command and promptly closed his eyes, allowing his mind to plunge into the depths of cultivation. The undercurrents of Qishan City continued to surge, while Li Wei, having quietly reaped the benefits, entered yet another phase of rapid strength enhancement. The two marked threads of causality lay like hidden stakes, poised to yield unforeseen rewards at some point in the future. Chapter 112. The initial display of void walking system permissions upgraded once more. Within the tranquil chamber of the courtyard, time seemed to stand still. Li Wei sat cross-legged, cradling the profound void crystal fragment in his palm. The system operates at full capacity, and a chaotic hue of light flickers within him at an unprecedented frequency, much like a parched sponge greedily absorbing the pure essence of the void and the laws contained within the crystal core. The absorption of the void's fundamental principles and the interpretation of spatial transmission rules are underway, optimizing the dimensional folding model. The optimization of spatial laws, tailored for the origin continent, reaches completion at a staggering 100. The host's understanding of spatial laws has now fully adapted to the current continent's regulations, enhancing his might by 15 and unlocking new potential. Upon detecting fragments of spatial rules with a high degree of compatibility, the demand response module is activated, initiating the deduction of spatial talents and secret arts. An overwhelming torrent of spatial mysteries floods into Li Wei's consciousness, colliding and merging with his already profound understanding of spatial laws, leading to a sublime evolution of his insights. His comprehension of space transcends the relatively linear and stable framework of the cosmic sea, delving into the more intricate and dynamic essence of the origin continent's spatial structure. He perceives the hidden folds of multidimensionality within space and senses the subtle ripples of rules when executing ultra-long distance transmissions. Grasping the mechanics of folding and unfolding space with greater efficiency, time becomes irrelevant as the fragment of the void crystal ultimately crumbles into dust, dissipating into the intangible. Li Wei suddenly opens his eyes. In that instant, as he blinks, the space before him appears to tear apart, resembling fabric being ripped into thin black slits, only to swiftly mend itself. Simply by the power of his gaze, he has invoked a rift in space. With his mastery of spatial laws fully realized, he comprehends a new talent, Void Walking Beginner. This skill allows him to blend with the void, traversing short distances within deep spatial crevices without producing any fluctuations, evading most detection and confinement. The distance he can cover and the energy consumed will increase with his cultivation level and understanding of space. Currently, his limit is a single transit of no more than 100 miles. A wave of enlightenment washes over him. This void walking is not merely a simple teleportation. It represents a more advanced application of space, involving a temporary integration into deeper dimensions, offering unparalleled advantages in combat, infiltration, and escape. Curious to test its efficacy, Li Wei focuses his thoughts without rising. His figure distorts like a reflection in water, becoming ephemeral. In the next moment, he silently materializes in another corner of the quiet chamber, the entire process causing no spatial fluctuations or energy ripples, as if he was always meant to be there. Satisfied, Li Wei nods approvingly. This is merely the beginner stage. Should he cultivate to more profound realms, traversing star domains in the blink of an eye would not be beyond the realm of possibility. Simultaneously, the system conveys another message, successfully absorbed and analyzed the void crystal, containing fragments of higher rules. The system's analytical capacity regarding the foundational rules of the origin continent has significantly increased. Progress in unlocking permissions has risen to 0. 5. Current system permission unlock progress. 0. 51. New functionality unlocked. Basic rule simulation. Basic rule simulation. Energy can be consumed to simulate and recreate the fundamental environmental rules of the ancestral continent, such as gravity, source energy concentration, foundational law suppression, etc., within a miniature universe or designated area, serving to assist in cultivation, secret technique testing, or the nurturing of specific beings. The precision and scope of the simulation increase with enhanced permissions. Basic rule simulation. A spark of delight ignited in Li Wei's eyes. This function is remarkably practical. It signifies that he can craft an environment within his universe that closely resembles the ancestral continent. This not only greatly aids his comprehension of the laws and the testing of secret techniques, but, more importantly, it will allow the beings from the cosmic sea, including his earthly kin, to gradually acclimate to the ancestral continent. This could potentially pave the way for them to venture beyond the universe, a crucial step in their development. No longer must he worry about their inability to withstand the overwhelming suppression of external rules. System, display the current complete status panel. The screen materialized, and the data was updated. Host, Li Wei. Life level, 100,000 times perfect gene, eternal uniqueness. Cultivation realm, void true god, foundation. Space law adaptation at 100. Actual combat power assessment. Under normal conditions, comparable to an ordinary eternal true god at its pinnacle, when all cards are on the table. Poses a threat to a saintly existence, chaos sovereign, in its early stages. Divine body strength, perfected body, minor achievement. Significant enhancement in spatial resistance. Divine power reserve, vast as an abyss, slightly increased. Core talents and abilities. 1. Absorption and transformation system, permission level, 051. New addition, basic rule simulation, capable of simulating the fundamental environment of the ancestral continent. Space law adaptability has reached complete perfection at 100. 2. Talent secret technique, eternal instant, slight effect enhancement, cooldown time slightly reduced. 3. Talent secret technique, void walking, beginner. 4. Self-created secret technique, temporal and spatial forbidden domain. Power increases by approximately 20 with the perfection of spatial law and the analysis of the void crystal core. The comprehensive enhancement of his abilities, particularly the perfect adaptation to the spatial laws and the acquisition of the new secret technique, has bolstered Li Wei's confidence. Now, even without relying on the system to absorb damage, his mastery over space alone is sufficient to keep him undefeated among those beneath the eternal true god. The unlocking of permission level 05 suggests that absorbing high-level, rule-infused primordial substances is an effective means of enhancing permissions, Li Wei pondered. The elevation of system permissions often brings forth new functionalities of strategic significance. He rose, stretching his limbs, feeling the surging divine power within him and the sense of mastery over the surrounding space. It is time to venture outside, to observe the two marked causal lines and their current state. He activated his newly comprehended void walking, and with a subtle shimmer, he melded seamlessly into the surroundings like an ink droplet dispersing in water, silently traversing the protective barriers of the courtyard, emerging above the outer gate area. He drew no one's attention. Even when a fleeting consciousness swept through the area, it merely sensed an exceedingly faint, natural ripple in the space, never suspecting that someone was engaging in profound spatial traversing. Following the causal threads marked by the system, which connected the fleeing shadow demon leader from the previous night to the traitor, he attuned himself to their states and locations. The causal thread representing the shadow demon leader had grown exceedingly weak and unstable, akin to a flickering candle in the wind, pointing towards a chaotic marshland outside Qishan City, its status indicating a near-death condition. In contrast, the causal thread of the traitor was relatively stable, yet it intriguingly pointed within the gates of Qiyue sect. Moreover, the location was not the outer gate, but rather appeared to be within the core inner gate area. Its status indicated concealment and healing. One is on the brink of death in a perilous place, while the other has stealthily returned to the inner sanctum of Qiyue sect. A glimmer of intrigue flickered in Li Wei's eyes. This was becoming fascinating. The traitor was indeed extraordinary, likely a member of Qiyue sect, or perhaps had allies within the inner gate. Was there collusion between the shadow demons and the sect's inner personnel? Or did the traitor have ulterior motives? For the time being, he had no intention of interfering with the near-death shadow demon leader. A dying individual held little value and could potentially raise alarms. His attention was more focused on the traitor who had returned to the inner gate. System. Continue low-level monitoring of the causal thread in the inner gate. Alert me promptly if there are any anomalies or changes in status. Command confirmed. Having completed these tasks, Li Wei moved like a true specter, seemingly wandering aimlessly in the outer gate area of Qiyue sect, while in reality familiarizing himself with the newly acquired powers. His consciousness spread out like an invisible net, capturing various tidbits of information within the sect. He overheard numerous disciples discussing the explosion and energy fluctuations at the Western mines the previous night, noting that the law enforcement hall had intervened in the investigation but had yet to find any leads. He also caught wind of some internal rumors regarding Qiyue sect, suggesting that relations with a nearby major sect of the Wu Kingdom, Liang Valley, had recently soured due to disputes over the ownership of a newly discovered source crystal vein. Liang Valley, source crystal vein. Li Wei made a mental note of this information. Conflict often heralds opportunity, whether it be for resource acquisition or system testing. A chaotic battlefield presents an excellent choice. He lifted his gaze, as if piercing through layers of space, witnessing the denser aura of heaven and earth and the radiance of principles suspended above the inner gate. The inner gate held higher legacies, deeper secrets, and that intriguing causal thread. It appeared to be the opportune moment to seek a chance for advancement into the inner gate. A subtle smile graced his lips, embodying an air of mastery. With the initial success of his void walking and an elevation of system permissions, the inner gate of Qiyue sect, and indeed the broader stage of the Wu Kingdom, had quietly entered his purview. The next step was to demonstrate sufficient value in a reasonable and inconspicuous manner to ascend to that higher echelon. Chapter 113. The Outer Gate Competition Reveals Prominence. Entering the inner gate between reality and illusion. Li Wei did not wait long. An excellent opportunity for advancement arrived as anticipated. The outer sect of Qiyue sect holds a grand competition every decade, aimed at selecting the most outstanding disciples among the outer sect, bestowing generous rewards, and identifying potential candidates for entry into the inner sect. This year's competition coincided with the third month following Li Wei's initiation into the sect. As soon as the news of the competition spread, the outer sect buzzed with excitement. Countless disciples, who had been diligently practicing or tirelessly completing tasks, eagerly prepared to showcase their skills in this decennial event and carve out a promising future for themselves. Naturally, Li Wei also registered for the competition. For him, this event represented not only a shortcut to the inner sect, but also a valuable opportunity to assess his recent cultivation achievements, particularly the application of void walking in practical combat. The competition took place on the Martial Peak designated for Qiyue sect. The summit had been leveled by immense magical power, creating over 100 arenas of varying sizes, surrounded by spectator stands that were now overflowing with people. Not only were there outer sect disciples, but many inner sect disciples, as well as some stewards and elders, had come to observe the battles, hoping to discover promising talents. The rules of the outer sect competition were relatively straightforward, consisting of elimination rounds and ranking matches. In the elimination rounds, participants were randomly paired for direct confrontations, with victors advancing. The ranking matches involved the top 100 from the elimination rounds competing in a round-robin or challenge format, ultimately determining the top 10 or even the top 3, with particularly generous rewards. Li Wei's identification plate was towards the back, and he initially attracted little attention. His opponents ranged from peak true gods to early-stage void true gods, and he responded with the most unremarkable techniques derived from the Qiyue heart method. He either effortlessly dissipated their attacks with a mere flick of his fingers, harnessing divine power, or restricted his opponent's movements using slightly enhanced spatiotemporal barriers before pushing them off the stage. The entire process appeared effortless, yet he refrained from displaying any extraordinary prowess, maintaining a performance level that reflected a solid foundation as an early-stage void true god. However, as the competition progressed, his opponents grew increasingly formidable, compelling Li Wei to reveal a bit more of his capabilities. When facing a mid-stage void true god renowned for his swift and fierce swordsmanship, the opponent's sword light rained down like a waterfall, constricting all avenues for evasion. Yet, Li Wei merely smiled, deftly navigating the seemingly impenetrable sword light with a few seemingly simple, yet exquisitely executed steps, moving through the gaps in the sword's momentum as if foreseeing the outcome. With a single finger, he struck the opponent's wrist, disarming him of his sword. To the untrained eye, this scene appeared to showcase Li Wei's exceptional agility and fortunate timing. However, to Elder Yu Wuhan and several discerning stewards observing from the high platform, it elicited narrowed pupils. The young man's mastery of the tempo of battle and his control over his own strength had reached a profound level. Those seemingly simple steps concealed an ultimate understanding of spatial dynamics and the opponent's techniques. One steward murmured in admiration. Yu Wuhan nodded slightly, his gaze unwavering from Li Wei's figure. It seemed he was intentionally concealing something. Each of his actions was perfectly timed, wasting neither effort nor revealing excessive strength. This composure was uncharacteristic of someone so young. Li Wei advanced through the competition with ease, successfully breaking into the top 100 and entering the ranking matches. In the ranking competition, he encountered formidable opponents, including a late-stage void true god, renowned as one of the top 3 contenders from the external sect. This individual practiced the rare principle of heavy water, wielding immense and overwhelming divine power. Once unleashed, the entire arena seemed to transform into a quagmire, making movement arduous and delivering powerful, crushing attacks. Faced with such an adversary, relying solely on the agility and control he had previously demonstrated proved to be somewhat taxing. As the opponent summoned a torrential wave of heavy water, morphing it into a colossal hand descending with great force, Li Wei finally activated his newly comprehended ability. He did not confront it directly, nor did he employ a spatial domain of restriction. In the fleeting moment before the heavy water hand descended upon him, his figure flickered like an ethereal phantom, and in the next instant, he bizarrely vanished from the lethal area directly beneath the giant hand, appearing at the side of his opponent as if by teleportation. The entire process was silent, devoid of the usual spatial fluctuations or traces of divine power explosion. As though he had always stood there. What? The disciple practicing the heavy water principle was taken aback. Lacking the time to react before Li Wei casually struck his protective divine power, a concentrated force of temporal and spatial tremors surged within him, causing his divine energy to stagnate and his blood to surge uncontrollably, forcing him to retreat multiple steps until he ultimately fell beyond the boundaries of the arena. A profound silence enveloped the crowd, which was soon shattered by an uproar. What had just transpired? How did he manage that? They hadn't seen it clearly. It seemed like teleportation, but how could it have occurred without a sound? Could a void true god master such sophisticated spatial techniques? Who was this young man? On the high platform, Elder Yu Wuhan abruptly sat upright, his eyes gleaming with intensity. It is not teleportation. It is the integration into deep space. This is the art of void walking, achievable only through profound comprehension of spatial principles, touching the very edges of the void. How could an external sect disciple, at the initial stage of a void true god, possibly accomplish this? The several attendants beside him exchanged incredulous glances, their faces a tableau of disbelief. Void walking is a high-end skill that many eternal true gods might not even grasp. Standing on the arena, Li Wei paid no heed to the surrounding discussions, feeling quite satisfied with the effectiveness of his void walking. In his first application during a real battle, although it was merely the most fundamental short-range traversal, its stealth and suddenness were sufficient to become a decisive weapon against his foes. Following this battle, Li Wei emerged as the most surprising dark horse of this external sect competition, his reputation swiftly spreading throughout the external sect, even garnering attention from the inner sect regarding this suddenly emerging prodigy of spatial principles. In the subsequent matches, none could compel Li Wei to reveal more of his techniques. At times, he vanquished foes with exquisite foundational moves. At other moments, he overwhelmed them with his formidable divine power, and occasionally, he effortlessly triumphed through his enigmatic void walking. Ultimately, he fought his way into the finals, seemingly with great difficulty overcoming another opponent at the peak of the void true god level, claiming the title of champion in this external sect competition. As Li Wei accepted the first-place reward from Elder Yu Wuhan, a supreme-quality flying palace known as the Moon-Chasing Vessel and 3,000 contribution points to the sect, he sensed the scrutinizing and significant gazes of Elder Yu Wuhan and several other elders upon him. Yu Wuhan gazed at him, her voice calm, yet imbued with an undeniable authority. You possess extraordinary talent, particularly in the realm of space, and your comprehension is remarkable. The outer sect is no longer sufficient for you to fully express your abilities. I ask you now, do you wish to join my ranks and become an inner disciple? The prospect of being directly accepted by an elder from the outer sect, bypassing the ordinary inner disciple stage, was indeed a prestigious privilege. Envious and jealous glances immediately surrounded them. Li Wei had already contemplated this moment and respectfully bowed, maintaining a demeanor of neither servility nor arrogance. I am willing. Thank you for your esteemed favor, elder. Excellent. A smile graced Yu Wuhan's face. From this day forth, you shall be my named disciple, Li Wei, and you will cultivate at the moon-watching peak of the inner sect. Here is your inner disciple token and new garments. Shortly, someone will escort you to your residence and inform you of the inner sect regulations. Yes, master. Receiving the silver token, exquisitely crafted with a crescent moon emblem, and the moon-white robe adorned with silver trim, Li Wei realized that the first step of his plan had been successfully accomplished. Entering the inner sect signified access to richer cultivation resources, more profound martial arts legacies, swifter channels of information, and proximity to the causal threads leading to the inner sect, as well as potential secrets linked to the shadowy forces. Under the scrutiny of countless complex gazes, Li Wei followed an inner sect steward through a luminous gate that separated the inner from the outer realms, officially entering the core area of Qiyue's sect, the inner sect. A new environment, fresh challenges, and hidden opportunities awaited his exploration. Armed with the ability to traverse the void and enhance system privileges, Li Wei was confident that he could ascend rapidly within the inner sect and unravel deeper mysteries. His journey would not conclude within the inner sect. His aspirations reached toward the vast origin continent and the ultimate secrets of the system. Chapter 114. Gaining True Teachings at Moonwatching Peak. Initial analysis of the Void Transformation Realm. The inner sect area was starkly different from the outer sect. The source energy here was so concentrated it almost materialized into a mist, allowing for subtle advancements in cultivation with every breath. The mountains loomed more majestically, shrouded in clouds, while powerful flying mounts or inner sect disciples harnessing light sped through the skies, with even the weakest of them being void true gods, and eternal true gods occasionally gracing the scene. Moonwatching Peak served as the cultivation ground for Elder Yu Wuhan and her disciples, holding a significant position among the peaks of the inner sect of Qiyue. The entire mountain resembled a sharp sword piercing the clouds, its summit seemingly able to touch the luminous moon in the sky, thus earning its name. The mountain was adorned with pavilions, medicinal gardens, and spiritual springs, alongside formidable spirit-gathering formations that perpetually operated to concentrate the pure source energy within a radius of thousands of miles. Li Wei was assigned to a secluded and exquisite courtyard halfway up the mountain, characterized by serene surroundings and expansive views, with a concentration of source energy exceeding that of the outer sect by several folds. After the steward conveyed the basic rules of the inner sect, the locations for resource exchanges, and the requirement to attend elder lectures once a month, he respectfully withdrew. Becoming an inner disciple, particularly as a named disciple of an elder, brought benefits far surpassing those of the outer sect. The monthly contribution points were elevated to 500, granting access to the higher levels of the scripture repository for the study of martial arts secrets, as well as the opportunity to exchange for rare resources at preferential prices. After settling in, Li Wei did not rush to explore the inner gates or trace the causal line. Instead, he first took out the jade slip bestowed by Yu Wuhan, which contained the teachings of the Taishu transformation realm. This was precisely what he needed at the moment, a core inheritance that pointed directly towards the path of the eternal true God, sufficiently enhancing his apparent strength in a most logical manner. As his consciousness delved into the jade slip, an overwhelming influx of profound, intricate, and vast teachings flooded his mind, far surpassing the outer sect's Jue heart method. This technique was not merely a means of energy accumulation. It placed greater emphasis on the construction and evolution of the illusory realm. It advocated for the utilization of one's divine power and will of the soul to carve out, stabilize, and expand a domain that exists between the real and the unreal, known as the Taishu realm. This realm serves not only as a source of power, but also as a battleground against adversaries. And it is crucial for Li Wei's future ascent to the eternal true God, merging his internal miniature universe with the Taishu realm to achieve transcendence. The teachings contained profound applications of various laws such as space, virtualization, the soul, and creation, exceedingly esoteric in nature. The system commenced a comprehensive analysis of the Taishu transformation realm, optimizing it against the host's existing cultivation framework, deriving the optimal path for cultivation, and simulating the construction of the Taishu realm model. Command confirmed. Beginning in-depth analysis of Taishu transformation realm, eternal true God level inheritance. Analysis in progress. Detection of advanced spatial law applications for the opening of the illusory realm, resonating partially with the host's talent for void walking, which can mutually enhance each other. Detection of techniques for the fusion of soul will and divine power, optimizing the efficiency of the host's connection between the soul and miniature universe. Detection of embryonic forms of domain-type secret arts, the Taishu Forbidden Zone, which can be fused with temporal and spatial forbidden zones to greatly enhance potential power. Constructing a theoretical model of the Taishu realm, simulating operation, with an 89 compatibility to the host's internal miniature universe structure, with room for optimization, optimizing schemes in progress. The system worked efficiently, meticulously unraveling the core inheritance of the Chiyue sect, distilling its essence and integrating it with Li Wei's foundation, existing secret arts, and even the characteristics of the system itself. A plethora of insights flooded Li Wei's heart, rendering the path from the true God of void to the eternal true God unprecedentedly clear. Simultaneously, the system began to simulate the construction of a miniature, embryonic Taishu realm, adhering to the principles of the Taishu transformation realm while undergoing systematic optimization, serving as both an experiment and a reference. This was not a mere replication but a perfect process of absorption, transformation, and recreation facilitated by the system as a bridge. Several days later, Li Wei had initially digested the profundities of the Taishu transformation realm and accepted the system's optimization plan. Instead of immediately embarking on extensive cultivation, he resolved to first visit the Scripture Pavilion and the Treasure Hall of the Inner Sect. The Scripture Pavilion of the Inner Sect was located halfway up the majestic Chiyue Peak, a grand 9-story ancient tower. Armed with the Inner Sect Disciple Token, Li Wei could freely access the first 5 levels. The vast collection of texts within the pavilion was categorized meticulously, far surpassing that of the Outer Sect. Li Wei's ambitions were clear. He did not linger excessively on the esoteric arts of attack and defense, but rather focused on uncovering the secrets of the origin continent's history, geographical anomalies, peculiar compendiums, and various obscure laws, alongside ancient legends contained within miscellaneous tomes and jade slips. He expended several hundred contribution points to replicate a vast array of such information. While this knowledge might not directly enhance his combat prowess, it was crucial for enriching the system's database, deepening his comprehension of the origin continent, and proving invaluable for future explorations of ruins and the discernment of treasures. He even stumbled upon a fragmentary ancient manuscript concerning the taboo doctrines of causality and fate. Although its content was vague and rife with conjecture, it provided him with a more nebulous understanding of that realm. Upon exiting the Scripture Pavilion, Li Wei proceeded to the Treasure Hall. The resources traded here were of a significantly higher caliber. He even beheld pills and crafting materials suitable for the cultivation of eternal true gods, albeit at prices that were astonishingly steep. As he perused the offerings, he felt a subtle shift in his senses. The system conveyed a notification: target causal line, intersect trader, exhibits faint fluctuations. Location: behind Chiyue Peak, direction of Ice Mist Valley. Status: active, alert. Ice Mist Valley. Li Wei recalled that it was a place where inner disciples were punished for their transgressions, characterized by an extremely harsh and frigid environment that ordinary disciples would seldom approach. Finally, there was movement. Maintaining a facade of calm, Li Wei lingered in the treasure hall for a moment longer, exchanging some ordinary pills for disguise before departing. He did not make his way directly to Ice Mist Valley, as that would be too conspicuous. Instead, he returned to his own courtyard at Wangyue Peak, waiting until nightfall to quietly employ the technique of void walking. His form melded into the deeper layers of space, akin to a non-existent shadow, silently traversing toward the rear of Chiyue Peak. The concealment offered by void walking over short distances was exceptional, even amidst the strict formations of the inner sect. Such profound spatial infiltration was exceedingly challenging to detect. As he drew closer to Ice Mist Valley, the temperature of the air plummeted. The biting cold capable of freezing the divine power of even a true god. The valley's entrance was fortified with arrays and guarded by attendants. Yet, these posed no obstacles for Li Wei, who effortlessly slipped through the barriers and entered the valley. Inside lay a world encased in ice, with a piercing wind that howled like a steel blade, sweeping through the area. Here, the perception of divine consciousness faced significant interference. Li Wei concealed himself within the crevices of the void, cautiously advancing deeper, guided by the causal line. At last, in a secluded hollow obscured by towering ice spires, he beheld his target. It was a young man clad in the garb of an inner disciple, of unremarkable appearance. His aura maintaining a presence at the late stage of a void true god, engaged in a hushed conversation with a figure cloaked in black, exuding a chilling essence. Due to the environment and distance, compounded by the vigilance of both parties, the specifics of their discourse were indistinct. However, through the system-enhanced perception, Li Wei managed to capture several keywords. Liang Valley, Vein Map, 3 days hence, Z hour, old place. Liang Valley, Vein Map. Li Wei felt a stir within. Recalling previous whispers of the contention between Chiyue sect and Liang Valley over the source crystal vein. At that moment, the figure cloaked in black seemed to become aware. Abruptly lifting his head, his scarlet gaze sweeping the surroundings, a chilling aura of murderous intent pervading the air. Li Wei immediately retracted all his presence, merging himself with the void, akin to an unyielding stone. The cloaked figure scanned the area for a moment, finding nothing, and then nodded to the inner sect disciple before transforming into a wisp of black smoke, vanishing into the cold winds. The inner disciple let out a sigh of relief, casting a wary glance around before swiftly departing the valley. Li Wei did not pursue either party. He had already gleaned crucial information, 3 days hence, at the hour of the rat, at the old rendezvous. Moreover, this matter pertained to a conflict between the sect and the Radiant Sun Valley, as well as a certain map of a mineral vein. It appeared that this thread of causality entangled not only the Shadow Killers, but also the intricate machinations between two major sections. A glimmer of calculation flashed in Li Wei's eyes. The mineral vein, the map. This could indeed be an opportunity. He quietly withdrew from the Ice Mist Valley and returned to Moonwatch Peak, his mind already teeming with a new scheme. He needed to elevate his strength as much as possible within these 3 days and prepare meticulously for the forthcoming transaction at the old place, to see if he could once again play the role of the opportunistic fisherman. The cultivation of the Great Void transformation and the utilization of newly acquired resources required acceleration. Chapter 115. The projection of the Void Realm unveils marvels. The struggle for the mineral map ignites chaos. 3 days slipped away in the blink of an eye. Within the courtyard of Moonwatch Peak, Li Wei sat cross-legged, his aura markedly different from 3 days prior. It was not a breakthrough in realm, but rather a deeper level of harmony and restraint. Surrounding him, there was a faint, shimmering transparent force field, not a divine protective shield, but a projection of a minuscule world existing between reality and illusion, the nascent form of the Great Void Realm. Initially cultivated through the Great Void transformation and optimized by the system. Over these 3 days, he had utilized the system's in-depth analysis and simulation of the Great Void transformation, alongside the expenditure of some resources to successfully carve out this Void Realm within himself. Though its range was still minuscule, less than 100 miles, its essence was exceptionally high, subtly resonating with the boundless universe within him, holding infinite potential for the future. Even more surprisingly, during the condensation of this Void Realm, the system's analysis of spatial and void laws reached a new zenith. By combining void traversal with temporal restrictions, a new application technique emerged, void projection. Void projection. This technique allows the nascent power of the Great Void Realm to be momentarily projected into the real world, forming a microcosmic domain under the host's absolute control. Within this domain, the host can, to a certain degree, distort the rules of reality, such as enhancing personal attacks, weakening foes, altering local gravity, etc., and can render themselves or portions of their attacks ethereal, bypassing conventional defenses. The duration and intensity of the effect increase with the refinement of the Void Realm and the host's elevation in realm. This was not an independent secret technique, but rather a high-level application of one's own power, a sublime evolution of domain-like abilities. Although the current projection range could only envelop a radius of 10 zhang and lasted no more than 3 to 5 breaths, at a critical moment, It could serve as a decisive weapon to turn the tide of battle. It was time. Li Wei opened his eyes. As if the miniature rivers of stars and the ephemeral cycle of worlds danced within his gaze. He sensed the causal thread. It stayed in motion, directing him towards the outskirts of Qishan City. The night deepened, and the hour of the rat approached. Li Wei melded into the void, once again employing his ability to traverse the void, silently departing from Qiyua's sect and moving towards the direction indicated by the causal line. This time, his speed was even greater, his mastery of space more exquisite. In mere moments, he traversed the 100-mile distance. His destination was not the previously abandoned mine, but rather another forsaken estate on the city's outskirts. The remnants of crumbling walls cast grotesque shadows under the moonlight, and the hooting of an owl added an eerie atmosphere. Li Wei concealed himself in the shadow of an ancient tree at the estate's periphery, merging his presence with the tree, even momentarily suppressing the fluctuations of the causal line to a minimum. He appeared as an absolute observer, gazing down upon the unfolding drama below. In the dilapidated courtyard at the center of the estate, two factions were at an impasse. One side consisted of the inner sect disciple who had appeared 3 days prior in Ice Mist Valley, hereinafter referred to as Chun, now accompanied by another individual adorned in inner sect garb, whose aura unmistakably belonged to a peak void true god.